Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old Energy Boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky Perry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha. Look at the light!
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and it's time to say a very, very warm welcome for his third night this week to Mr. Mike Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Good morning, Mike. Good to be here again. Got to get down to the serious issues right away.
There's
now.
an awful lot of them, aren't there?
Well, you want to talk about things which you think affect the nation. Let me tell you, I watched Wolf Hall tonight.
Oh, did you?
What a load of rubbish.
Rubbish?
Garbage. And I tell you what, we've got the first issues of the papers here, right? And I'm reading some people who earn their living by reviewing TV stations.
Yeah.
Christopher Stevens, page 11 in the Mail. I'll just go to it. He gives it 5 stars. He says it's
So he
absolutely
doesn't agree with you then? He thinks
doesn't
it's
agree with me
actually
at
very
all.
good. Well, this is meant to be like the BBC's flagship thing. You've been bigging it up for weeks.
Yeah, the plots are murky, the lighting murky, but the cast are simply dazzling. There's something oddly familiar about Shakespearean heavyweight Mark Rylance as Thomas Cromwell. Wolf Hall, BBC 2,
Well, hang on a second.
5
Isn't this all
stars.
going to be part of Porky Vision? You
Well,
shouldn't be doing this now.
it is, but it's such a big issue. I've got to tell you about it now. And the thing is, it's one of
Well,
those...
is it going to be in Porky Vision as well?
It's going to be in Porky Vision. I'll do it in detail there, but I'll just give you a few hints about what's to come. Porky Vision is at 3:30, am I right?
That's right, yeah.
Porky Vision 3:30, folks, so you can, tune in then if you're not going to tune in until then, because I'll tell you the absolute give it you straight between the eyes on Wolf Hall. This starts with this guy's wife and children just suddenly die.
Right.
I mean, they just die.
Which guy?
This guy Cromwell. They just died.
This guy Cromwell. You mean
Yeah.
him like the main character?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, I suppose the King's main character. The King doesn't come until 4 minutes from the end.
Right.
But the main character is this guy Cromwell, right? And for some unknown reason, his wife and his kids die in the opening minutes. I mean, nobody knows why.
Why are you giving away the plot already?
Nobody knows why.
Yeah, you're giving away the plot.
And then all the other wives,
Right.
like, Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, they're all knocking around somewhere. And there's a side plot to it, by the way. It was discovered Jane Seymour was very ugly.
Really?
In the days that Jane Seymour was around.
Oh, yeah.
And what they've done is they've decided they didn't want an ugly actress, so they've got a beautiful actress to play Jane Seymour.
Right.
So that's not very accurate, is it?
No, I suppose it's not. Well, I mean, we will discuss this much in more detail
Well,
later
yeah,
on
because
in
there are
Porky
other
Vision.
issues we've got to get onto.
Well, there are many other issues I want
And
to
by
get
the way,
onto.
Spurs will have no trouble, will they, at Sheffield United
Well,
in the
I'm not
second
sure.
leg?
I'm
no
not sure
trouble
because,
at all.
I watched the way Nigel Clough set them up last night, and I think
No
Spurs...
drama,
Well,
banana
I'm not sure. And if you actually give them the Porky kiss of death,
Yeah.
they may well
Yeah.
actually lose. I quite fancy Sheffield United to get something out of that.
No, fanciful. That's fanciful, honestly.
I don't think it's
That is,
a bad shout. But, I want to talk about the fact
people like
that...
Nigel Clough. They like Nigel Clough because he's Brian Clough's son, and they like him because he's a very nice young man, and he speaks well, and he's very humble and all that kind of stuff. But you can't let sentiment get in the way of football, Mike. How many times have I told you that?
Yeah, well, how many times have you
told
predicted
that?
a result that's ended up not working out quite the way that you predicted?
If I could predict every result 100% right, we'd all win the pools every week,
We
wouldn't
certainly would. Well, even 50% right would be good. But that's another story. No, I want to talk about the story that's in all the papers, and it's also leading the news bulletin here at TalkSport, and that is the thing about this ridiculous notion that they're going to start putting cigarettes in plain paper packages, which is something that they've already started doing in Australia, and now they want to do it here.
I'm not even sure it is in all the papers, because it was dropped on us in the announcement in the Commons, wasn't it, late on tonight?
Well,
don't think it's made some of the early editions of the papers, but, I mean, talk about an absolute betrayal of freedom. I mean, already, although cigarette packets can still be the colourful designs they are now, I love cigarette packets, by the way.
Do you?
I absolutely love the...
What do you love about them?
Oh, when we used to work in the States and all that, there was nothing better than going into what do they call a tobacco shop?
A tobacconist.
No, what do they call these shops that sold cigarettes?
Well, they call it a tobacconist, don't
No, they call them something else in America. What is
Really?
it? What is it?
they? Do they?
Yeah, something like that. Used to be
Well,
one.
they sell them. They don't really have tobacco shops. They sell them everywhere, don't they?
Yeah, they do. That's right. Yeah, but there was one opposite Costello's. Remember, used to go in there. The old Polish guy who sold the cigarettes there, and the Panoply, or Panoply, is it? Panoply.
Panoply?
Panoply of
Panoply.
Panoply.
Yeah.
Panoply of hundreds of different packages of cigarettes,
Yeah.
and there are hundreds in America.
Yeah.
I just thought it was beautiful art, absolutely beautiful art. I loved it, fantastic.
Well, we know what you think about art because you were telling us last night.
Yeah, and even in this country, Well, yeah, I'll tell you something else about art in a minute.
Right.
And even in this country, I do think it's spectacular. Now, already I've noticed in some shops I go into, I mean, I don't buy cigarettes, I don't smoke them, so there's no need for me to do so, but I do admire the artistic work that goes into the branding of cigarettes, right?
Well, you probably would have noticed if you've seen a packet of cigarettes recently, they've got half the packet is covered with some horrendous picture of somebody in a very bad way as a result of a health warning they have to put on them now.
But before you get there, in a lot of shops now, they're kept in...
They're hidden away.
They're hidden away in drawers which have grey sliding doors in front of them.
Supermarkets,
Utterly ridiculous. An outrage against the freedom of the individual.
And of course,
not having it. Did you used to collect cigarette packets when you were a kid?
No.
Oh, we did.
Why?
Oh, I don't know, but I had hundreds. I had thousands.
Why would you collect cigarette packets?
Well, what you did is, in those days, excuse me...
What a strange thing to collect.
No. We used to collect cigarette cards, which were in the packets, right? That was in the 40s or 50s, but I mean, I wasn't born then.
No, neither was I.
But when I was born in the late 50s, so I grew up in the 60s, right? A packet of cigarettes wasn't like they are today. I mean, today a packet of cigarettes is a solid form, and you break the top down, and then the cigarettes are there, okay?
Yeah.
In the old days, there were two separate pieces of the cigarette. There was the cradle, I suppose you could call it, in which the cigarettes rested.
Yes.
And that was then folded up and put inside a glove.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Sounds complicated.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, the glove bit...
I still don't know why I'd collect them.
Well, what you used to do is, when the packet was empty, the middle bit was thrown away, and then you were left with the glove. And what you used to do is, you used to collect them, and then keep them flat, and then throw them against walls, and then your opponent would throw them and try and knock them out the way.
Right.
And we used to play cigarette cards.
I used to do that with football cards.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I never did it with cigarette packets.
Yeah, we used to do it with cigarette packets.
Why didn't you do it with football cards?
Eh?
Why didn't you do it with football cards?
Because we did it with the cigarette packets.
Right.
Because they're more colourful.
Did your parents not object to this kind of use of cigarette packets?
No, they both smoked. My dad smoked Players Full Strength, which was brown packet. My mum smoked Woodbines.
So how old were you when you
packet.
were collecting these cigarette packets?
8, I
Really?
suppose. Yeah, I suppose so. Something like that, yeah. But I had thousands. I had an enviable collection. In fact, I had probably the biggest collection of any of us, because as usual, when I get into something,
So
I
you
try
were
to,
good at,
I try to be a
throwing
leader.
them. Yeah,
Eh?
so what happened to the collection then?
I've no idea. I mean, obviously over the years it disappeared and all that. But what I'm saying is there were brands in those days called Park Drive. Remember that?
I do.
Remember Park Drive?
Yeah.
There were other ones called... They were called all sorts of things. I mean, which you don't see today, obviously.
Right.
You know, they're all gone and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, what I'm saying is I do honestly believe that the design and display of cigarette packets is part of our artistic culture.
Yeah,
and
well, I don't go as far as to say that,
Well,
but-
no, I've seen a packet of these cigarettes in a brown cover, and it looks just like somebody's wrapped up something from a junk shop or something like that.
Right.
It does not look like a packet of cigarettes.
And also everything that they
I
do...
object seriously.
Everything that they do to try and stem the youngest of people taking up smoking doesn't seem to be working, because people are buying cigarettes just as much as they always did. They're much more expensive now than they used to be. And it just seems to be a ludicrous thing to do. And they're saying they're going to try and get it done before the actual election in May.
Yeah, I wish they'd get the Chilcot inquiry published before
that would be more
election
that would be more important,
much
wouldn't
more
it?
important, yeah. Now, the thing is, the people who make these decisions are politicians.
They are.
Politicians, of course, are dense individuals and never had a proper job. And what they should realise is that years ago they banned advertising of cigarettes, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because they said, well, it's an influence.
That hasn't had any effect either.
Well, can I just say to you, it had a dramatic effect on the well-being of the tobacco industry. Because what happened was, when they banned advertising, the tobacco industry reluctantly said, OK, we can't advertise on billboards anymore and all that. Then they found that actually the volume of cigarettes they were selling went up because then cigarettes became more mysterious to young people who liked them. So it was a double whammy for the tobacco industry. They were selling more cigarettes, but they were not spending £100 million a year on advertising. They didn't have to. They then became an even more profitable industry, able to produce cheaper cigarettes to sell to children who wanted to buy them at a cheaper rate, and they sold more.
And then they worked out ways of sponsoring things as well, didn't they?
Exactly. I mean, politicians are, by and large, a bunch of dumbbells, and they don't think anything through.
Well, also, they won't do what they should do if they really believe that these things are terrible for everybody, and ban them, because they won't ban them because the amount of revenue that they make is way over and above what they could afford to lose. 10 or so billion they get in tax from sales of cigarettes.
I'm not sure you could actually ban them. I mean,
well,
I know
they could make them illegal if they want to.
Well, you know, we impinge on all sorts of freedoms these days. You know, I mean, the government at the moment is saying we're going to pass a law which means that every message you ever send on a text or email or a telephone call can legitimately be picked up by GCHQ.
Right.
I'm not totally against that because I do believe in national security and all that. But what I'm saying is, Could they actually say, we're not selling tobacco in this country
Well, they
again?
could if they wish to, but they won't because they need the money.
Yeah, but can't they do the other thing, which would be a major move forward? And that is to double the price of a packet of cigarettes. If
They could
really
try
want,
doing that.
If they really want people to give it up,
Yeah,
if
they
they
could
really
try
want
doing
people
that.
to give it up, then they'd become very unpopular.
Yeah.
And politicians do not like to be unpopular.
Well, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of people in this country who probably go along with it because they don't like smoking, they don't like smokers, and I have every sympathy with them as well. But yeah, you're quite right. I mean, either go the whole hog and go towards banning them or putting
what
the
about
price up so
talking about
ridiculously.
banning and banners? What about my victory in the Page 3 campaign?
How's it your victory?
Well, I've saved Page 3.
You've saved Page 3,
Oh,
yeah.
without
We
a
should
shadow of a
report
doubt.
that the Sun this morning in the usual place
Yeah.
is a Page 3 model.
That's right.
And they've put a little rather amusing aside to it, haven't they, saying that basically, further to recent reports in all other media outlets, we would like to clarify that this is Page 3, and this is a picture of Nicola, 22, from Bournemouth. We would like to apologise on behalf of the print and broadcast journalists who've spent the last 2 days talking and writing about us.
That's right, yeah, because...
So was it just them sort of testing the water? Or was it...
I imagine they would have had such a response from their listeners saying, please don't ban Page 3. They decided to think again. Listeners, readers. But the thing is, you see...
I've seen the time.
I know, yeah. Look, I do not want to be branded a dirty old man who likes looking at pictures of naked women. What I'm saying is it's the freedom issue here. Now, when I debated this on the Jeremy Vine show, on BBC, he has 7 million listeners. I convinced his listeners, I'm sure, that it's a freedom issue. The lady sitting next to me, very capable lady who was campaigning to have it banned, she said, we've got a petition with 273,000 signatures. I said, 4 million people a day read The Sun.
Yeah. You said that yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm saying it again today.
Well, there's no need, because we're running out of time. It's getting late. Look into the light for a moment. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. Loads coming up.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see.
We are the two Mikes. This is Talk Sport, and that, of course, is John Lennon.
Yeah.
Was tweeted today an interview that John Lennon did on this very day in 1971 with Jan Wenner, the editor of Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
And an amazing interview it was as well. But also, you've spotted a story.
I've still got it, by the way.
You've still got the original one.
I've still got the original interview. Although it was in Rolling Stone, it was also produced in a book separately and individually. And I've still got it at home. But look,
you spotted a fascinating story about John Lennon and Uri Geller. We tried to get Uri Geller on the show, actually, but apparently he doesn't stay up this late. But he sends us much energy.
Well, thanks, Yuri. We appreciate that.
Now, tell us the story that Uri Geller has.
I wonder if Yuri will come on and expand on this, because it does leave some questions unanswered.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was... he was answering questions about, things that matter to him in life. He talked about his Bible that his father gave him when he was young. He talked about how lucky Crystal always carries around with him, because crystals form a big part of that sort of thing, don't they? But listen to this story. This is quite amazing. He says, when I lived in New York in the 1970s, I often met up with John Lennon, as he was very interested in my work. One day I received an urgent call from him asking to meet in a nearby restaurant. You can do that in New York, which he couldn't do here, could he?
You can.
No, Lennon couldn't do that here. Right. John arrived with Yoko and he was rather agitated. He asked me what I thought about parallel universes. So I told him I was open-minded to most ideas, and then he started to whisper frantically that one night recently he'd been in bed when he suddenly woke up. He said in his apartment it was full of alien-like creatures, and when he tried to push them away, they willed him to stop. He blacked out, and the next thing he knew, he'd come round and he was lying on his bed on top of the sheets. But in his hand was a metal egg, which he says the aliens had left him.
A metal egg?
A metal egg. The whole experience completely spooked him, and he insisted on giving me the egg. To this day, I've never quite been able to get my head around what happened to John, but I treasure that egg.
So you've still got the egg?
Well, I mean, the question I want to ask Yuri is, have you given this egg to a scientist to forensically examine to find out what the egg's made of, where it came from? Because, I mean, this is an incredible story.
Or whether it's hatched.
No, it's a metal egg. It's a metal egg.
Well, it might still hatch, though. It might be. I mean, if it's a metal egg, then it's not really an egg, is it?
You mean if it's come from, like, alien sources?
Well, if it's come from another planet, then it might just be... it might look like a metal egg, but it might actually not be metal at all.
Well, Yuri says it's metal, but I mean, there's so many questions we've got to ask him. Where is the egg? Where do you keep it?
Yeah.
You're right. Is there any possibility he'll ever hatch?
Yeah.
But have you given it to scientists on Earth who've been able to look at it?
Has it been forensically examined?
And find out where it came from?
Yeah.
Because that's an amazing story. John Lennon says he was visited by aliens.
Yeah.
Now, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Why?
If you're an alien spaceship flying around the Earth, and you know a meteorite nearly hit us this week.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was...
I was unaware of that. Where did it come down?
It swung round 3 distances from here to the moon away from us. But that's apparently a close encounter.
How close was it?
3 distances from here to the moon.
Oh, okay.
So from here
3
to the moon.
times as far?
3 times as far.
Oh, okay.
3 times as far. It swung round.
Was it a meteor or a meteorite?
It was a huge bit of rock, about 130 miles across.
Blimey.
Yeah, yes. But what I'm saying is, if I was an alien flying around planet Earth, and I thought, right... And this is the early 1970s, so the Beatles had broken up. John Lennon moved to New York. You know when John Lennon got on a plane and said, I'm leaving to New York in 1972?
Yeah.
He never came back.
Yeah, that's right.
Until he was shot dead in 1980.
And was that when he went first into Canada because they wouldn't let him in? Or did he go straight there?
I thought he came straight here, but I mean, Richard Nixon certainly had it in for him, didn't he?
Yeah.
And wouldn't let him in because he thought he was going to corrupt the young people of America. But what I'm saying is, if I was the alien flying around, you'll let me finish this story, mate, without interrupting, if you don't mind.
I'm trying not to interrupt.
I'm flying around. I'd say to, the ground commander of whichever planet
Sulu.
I'd come from.
Sulu, or whoever was driving it.
No, didn't I say the guy was called Bonjo?
Bonjo?
Yeah.
Bongo, didn't you?
No, Bonjo. Bonjo, yeah. But anyway, look, don't get sidetracked. Point is, I would say to them, right, I'm going down to planet Earth now.
Yeah.
Which human am I best to see? Should I see the President of the United States of America? Should I see the leader of Russia, which is the superpower? Should I see the Pope? Should I see Muhammad Ali? And presumably he was given instructions... No, go and see John Lennon. He's the greatest musician of the second half of the 20th century. He's the one we want you to see.
Yeah.
So all these aliens turn up in John Lennon's bedroom, right? Wonder where Yoko was at the time.
Well, who knows?
They were inseparable, weren't they?
They were.
During all the time they were together and all that kind of stuff. And
there's always a possibility that the story isn't actually true, isn't it?
well, where'd the metal egg come from then?
Well, I don't know if there is a metal egg. I haven't seen the metal egg.
Well, there's a metal egg. Yuri Geller's not a liar. Yuri
He
Geller
says there's a metal egg, but I haven't seen the metal egg.
He says, I treasure the metal egg that John Lennon gave me, given to John Lennon by a weird-looking alien with an egg-shaped head who came to him in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That, to me, is an amazing story.
Well, it's an amazing story if it's true, but what we don't know is whether it is actually true.
Well, which bit do you think is not true?
Well, John Lennon can't tell us whether it's true or not, can it? I mean, he might have imagined it. He might have somehow...
Well, where did the egg come from?
Well, I don't know. It depends on where the egg is. If the egg still exists, then you can prove that
well,
the
hang
egg
on,
came from somewhere.
You're saying that Yuri's being untruthful.
I'm not saying that.
He says, I treasure that egg to this day.
Yeah,
right.
He does.
Right, so he's got the egg. So John Lennon gave him an egg. Do you think John Lennon went so mad that he suddenly went around inventing metal eggs and giving them to Yuri Geller?
Well, all I'm saying is
I don't think so.
It might not have happened quite the way that is just being described, that's all. It's possible, isn't it? I mean, you're supposed to be a journalist. You're supposed to question these things. You're not supposed to just go nodding happily along and go, oh, yeah, well, it must have happened that way.
Hang on.
There must have been aliens in John Lennon's bedroom.
John Lennon rings up Yuri Geller.
Yeah.
Right? Yuri, Lennon here. Need to see you. I want to know about parallel universes.
Yeah.
Seeing the restaurant downstairs in 10. He gets there, then he tells him that all these aliens
Well, that's
have
what
come
Yuri
to...
Geller says, but we don't know that for sure, do we? Maybe you should ask Yoko Ono. Because she would know if he knew him.
I am rather shocked that you're expressing doubt on this story.
Well, I express doubt because that's what I'm sort of trained to do. I mean, you have to try and figure out whether a story is completely and utterly correct or not.
But I can't see one possible place where this story could have gone wrong. John Lennon rings up Yuri Geller. Why would he make up a story and say, Yuri, I've got to talk to you, and make up a story about aliens?
Lots of people sort of embellish stories, shall we say.
But John Lennon was not an embellisher. If John Lennon was an embellisher, you'd written a song about it.
But John Lennon's not ever talked about this encounter with Yuri Geller, has he? You're a student of John Lennon. Has he ever talked about it?
I've never seen
Has he ever talked about in any of his interviews about being visited by aliens?
Not to my view. Not
Has
to
he ever
not to my
talked
knowledge.
about being left a big egg in his bedroom?
No, not to my knowledge.
Well, don't you think he would have done?
Well, I think he found it so special that the only person he wanted to discuss it with was Yuri Geller, who he clearly had a relationship with because he was he had his phone number, ringing him up, saying, come and see me and all that kind of stuff. I think it's quite an amazing story. And by the way, on aliens, have you seen the report today that...
alien radio signal found.
Alien radio signals. Do you know how far away...
just listening to our podcast.
Do you know... Well, it could be. It could be. I'm telling you. Do you know how far away they're coming from?
How far away?
5.5 billion light years.
That's a long way away, isn't it?
Work that out.
Yeah. Work it out how?
Well, I mean, just try and think about it. Let me check that figure.
Yeah, check the figure.
Just think how far away that could be. Hang on. Radio waves, which scientists say could have been created by an alien civilization, have been picked up from outer space. This is a latest report, OK? It's a latest report.
It's a NASA report, is it?
I can't tell you that. Hang on. No, it comes from someplace in California. Right, it says the fast bursts of signals come from an unknown source. Yeah, I've got this absolutely right. So I always get my figures right.
You normally do.
5.5 billion light years away. I mean, you just can't imagine this. That is light travelling...
For 5.5
Yeah, at the speed
years.
it does for 5.5 billion years.
Yeah.
I mean, how big is the universe?
Yeah,
how
well,
big
it's
is it?
infinite,
How big
isn't
is it? How big is it?
Isn't it infinite? Isn't that the point?
I think it is, yeah.
And constantly expanding.
Unbelievable. It says a similar signal, so that we've seen the signal before, was discovered in 2007 when scientists stumbled upon it while sifting through data. And 7 more have been found since. And the signal
And is it just like a bleep or something like that?
No, quick, bright flashes
Oh, yeah.
that last just milliseconds, but give out as much energy in that millisecond as the sun does in a whole day.
My goodness.
Crikey, this is some kind of...
Mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, experts picked up the bursts using 12 different telescopes in places as far away from each other as Australia, California, Canary Islands, Chile, Germany, Hawaii and India. OK?
Yeah.
And as the radio waves were spotted in real time, scientists could check for other wavelengths, infrared light or X-rays, and an astrologer, the well-known astrologer John Mulcahy, said these events are one of the biggest mysteries in the universe. How about that?
One of the biggest
So we've
mysteries in the
uncovered
universe.
here on the 2 mics one of the biggest
Well, we
mysteries
haven't really
in the
uncovered
universe.
it, have we? We haven't just we haven't really been able to explain it. We've
We've uncovered the Yuri Geller John Lennon egg story.
Well, we have.
And
But
I'm disappointed with you throwing. And we've got to get Yuri on this
We'll
show.
have to get him on.
We've got to get him on to
We'll have
explain.
to get him on to find
we
out.
We must get
in
him
fact,
on.
We should try and get him to bring in the egg with
Yeah,
him. That
yeah,
would be
yeah.
the thing to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
We are the 2 mics. There's lots more coming up. This is Talk Sport.
Maxi Animation presents Mighty Mouse, the new adventures.
Here he comes, that mighty mouse, coming to vanquish the foe with a mighty blow. So don't be afraid anymore, 'cause things won't be like they've been before. Here I come to save the day. Thank goodness Mighty Mouse is on his way.
There's an infestation of mice, apparently, at Old Trafford. That's just why they're playing that
How
song.
does that manifest itself then?
What, an infestation?
Yeah.
Well, you just see a lot of mice running around.
No,
And,
but I mean, are you talking about in the stands? They're running around your feet.
Apparently, according to this story in the papers this morning, which is headlined "Eeky Bum Time" in the Times, it says there's a plague of mice. They've been seen running around on the pitch during matches, and they've spread around the ground, including inside staff offices.
No.
Yeah.
And what about in the stands when the spectators are there?
Well,
Are
they probably don't
running
come
over
around.
Their feet or
Well, they
something
probably
like
don't do too much of that because they're quite
Well, if
frightened
they're
of people.
outside and running around the pitch, they might be.
Yeah, but they wouldn't want to go too close to people, would they?
Well, I
I mean,
don't
as
know.
I know only too well, once you get these, sort of problems.
How's the rat situation?
Well, and we think they got rid of them all now.
And
They seem to
what
have
do you
all
mean you
gone.
got rid of them all? Did the rat catcher come along?
The rat man came and he put down some various. Sort of
And it
bits
was
of
definitely
poison
rats,
for
was it?
them.
Not
Yeah,
squirrels?
it was definitely rats. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
terrible! I'm never coming to your house if
Well-
there's been rats there.
Well, they're
That's
far,
terrible.
they're not like rats in London.
That's
they're
terrible.
like rats in the countryside. Which
And
are all over the
I tell
place.
you what, if those mice are running around on the pitch and all that kind of stuff, that's terribly disturbing. If I was Manchester United, I'd have that ground closed.
What, you'd have it burned to the ground? That was your suggestion that I should do.
Well,
in my
I'm
house.
telling you, it's the only way you do get rid of rodents is to literally, frighten them off with fire. And maybe a ring of fire around the Old Trafford pitch might not go amiss. And
Well,
I'm
it's
quite serious.
it is very difficult to get rid of them. That's the
course
problem.
it is, of course
and
it is, yeah.
they've called in some pest control people apparently, but basically the problem that they're going to have is how on earth do you get rid of them? Because there'll be places where there's food, there'll be places where
shocking.
there's not that
Doesn't
many
bear thinking
people for
about.
an awful lot of the time.
Doesn't
But
bear
maybe
thinking
it's the
about.
case in a lot of football grounds though.
Well, it's the case. I tell you what, in a lot of buildings near water,
Yeah.
and it's quite near a canal, Old Trafford. But they build these new buildings for MPs in London and all that.
Yeah.
They always get rats running around there. 'cause
Oh, they
it's so
do.
close to the River
Well,
Thames.
they say in London you're never more than 7 feet away from a rat, basically.
It's a horrible feeling, isn't it?
It is.
Listen, when we yeah.
By the way, I've got to pick you up on something from last night.
What's
There's quite
that?
a lot of complaints.
What's
When
that?
we finished the show last night,
Yeah.
you talked about how when we were talking about the whole ZZ Top thing, Stars in Your Eyes.
Yes.
How you are the bringer of sort of joy to everybody.
Yes.
And that without you, their lives are very dull and they're black
No, I
and
didn't
white.
say that. I didn't say that.
You did.
I said
You most people's lives are very dull.
All I said was I feel that with my communication skills, I have an obligation to try and help people lighten their lives.
Yes, indeed. Well,
Yes.
I'm only reporting what people said on the Twitter,
What
which
did they
the
say?
two mites who said, that they were absolutely terribly insulted by the fact that you made out that their lives were nothing without you.
No. What all I said was, and this is true, most people's lives follow a pattern.
Yeah.
But don't you realise that that's what keeps us safe and sound in our beliefs in life? That you have to have a pattern each day. What's it called? Like a routine.
routine.
A routine. You have to have a routine. And to say, oh, I'm in a bit of a rut, and you say, why? Well, all I do is get up, go to work, come home, make my tea, go to bed, and then next morning I get up and go to... Well, that is the routine
Yeah.
that makes us all feel safe and secure.
Quite a lot of people like that. Doesn't make
Well, of course
it dull,
they do.
though,
Of
does it?
course they do. But I'm saying within that, I can turn the bits of your life which are a little bit grey, a little bit dull, a little bit dark, a little bit quiet, into noise, sound, fury, colour, and pizzazz. I can give the gee whiz factor. That's what I'm saying.
This guy said one of them said they thought you had a messiah complex.
A Messiah complex.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, it means that only you can sort of bring light to the world, and that everything revolves around you.
Well,
which is partially correct.
No, it's not true at all.
I think it
Listen,
is.
what I was going to say to you is, you've got to be terribly careful. Now,
Yeah.
because you work the hours you work during the week,
Yes.
then you go home at the weekend, and you have 2 young children to deal with and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
You've got to be very, very careful that you don't so change your body clock movements at
Yes.
the weekend that you kill yourself.
Funnily enough, Sandy was mentioning this on when she was talking to me yesterday
Was
morning.
she?
But
Yeah.
let's hear more about that because
Well-
I'm pretty sure I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Even people who have a more regular life than we do.
Yeah.
So somebody who...
Well, almost anybody really.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So somebody works 9 to 5,
Yeah.
right, during the week would go to bed at 10 o'clock to get up at 5 o'clock next morning because they have to get up and get out and go and get the train and
You
get
can
to
get
work.
up at 5 o'clock. if
Well,
you were-
6,
All right.
okay? So that's 8 hours sleep,
Yeah.
right?
All right.
Now, what happens is Friday and Saturday night, they decide to stay up until 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
not 10 o'clock, because
Right.
they have a few drinks and out with their friends or whatever, and they go to bed and they then sleep for 8 hours till 8 o'clock, right? Now, the meridian point during the week when they go to bed at, what time did I say? 10.
10,
They go to
yeah.
bed at 10 and wake up at 6.
Yeah.
Is 2 a.m.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do. That's
Why?
4 hours after 10,
Exactly.
isn't it?
It's midway.
Yeah.
During that sleeping
Yeah, well, if
pattern.
they sleep for 8 hours, 4 would be the midpoint.
So that's 2 a.m., right?
Yeah.
That's the meridian point of their sleeping pattern.
Yeah.
Now, that needs to be regular for the brain to appreciate a sense of continuity.
Uh-huh.
But at weekends, you go to bed at 12 and you sleep until 8, the meridian point is...
It moves to 4, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when it moves to 4, the brain is then dislodged by 2 hours, and that 2 hours you're not sleeping at all.
Right.
You're suffering from jet lag because the brain will not accept being asleep for the 2 extra hours because you passed the meridian point.
So from, do you mean the mean point or do you mean the medium?
Oh, yeah, I mean all of that.
Well,
all
not
of
the
that.
meridian, then.
Yeah, well, the mean point. Well, meridian means middle as well.
Well, not really.
It does. That's why Meriden in Warwickshire is called Meriden because
Why?
it's because everybody thinks it's the middle of England.
Really?
Yes,
It
absolutely.
is in the middle of England?
It is the middle of England, yeah.
Right, okay.
Geographically, it is. You don't know much, do you?
No, I don't.
No, you don't know. So what I'm saying is you need, actually, to pursue the same sort of...
Well, hang on. So what is it saying? Is it saying that you're supposed to sleep later than 8 or earlier than 8 then?
No, you're supposed to go to bed at exactly the same time on Friday and Saturday as you go to bed during the rest of the
Well,
week.
that's ridiculous.
And get up... No, it's not.
that's nonsensical.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, look, unless I'm working with you, and for the last maybe 40 years,
Yeah.
I've made absolutely sure I get up at 4:30 a.m. every day.
Right.
Doesn't matter what I'm doing. Doesn't matter what time I've gone to bed the night before. Doesn't matter what my
that's
obligation...
also mad, isn't it? Because there's a big difference. If you're going to miss sleep...
Doesn't matter what my obligations are to the world the following day. I believe you're at your best in those first 2 hours after 4:30 a.m. And that's why I spring out of bed like a... Literally
Gazelle.
like... Eh?
Gazelle?
Not like gazelle, like like a leaping jack or whatever it's called. And,
leaping jack?
Yeah. What's that thing? What's that? You've got this
You
spring
mean
thing.
a jumping jack in the box?
Yeah, that's right. That sort of thing. Yeah, and bang out you come, and let's hit the world.
But you don't
at that
sleep very
time.
much anyway, do you?
No, I don't actually.
I mean, you don't sleep more than 4 or 5 hours a night.
I've
Or a
probably
day.
had 3 hours sleep since I last saw you.
Have you?
'Cause that's all I really fancied. Yeah,
Really?
I didn't really fancy. I didn't
Well,
really
that
feel
explains
tired.
why that's
for the
probably not
rest.
very. That's probably not very good for you.
Well, it may not. It may
But
not
most
be.
people, I mean, most
Yeah.
people probably will. I mean, there'll be lots of people listening to this show who
Yes.
are working at night, they're
Yes.
driving taxis, or on night shifts, or
Yeah.
they maybe just staying
Sure,
up late or they
sure,
can't sleep.
sure.
And you can't really go every single night to bed at the same time and
Well,
get up
no, you
every
should.
single time.
Yes,
in
you
the morning.
can. If
Well,
you-
that,
if you
that
run your
really
life-
would be boring.
No. If you run your life properly like I do, you can do that.
Yeah, but you don't know because now you're in here half the night.
Well, I don't now because I'm working with you on
Right.
these overnight
And this
shows,
is what
which
I've always
I find
said to
very
you.
gratifying.
Yeah,
It gives me
but-
a sense of, fulfilment.
Of
And
course.
there's nothing wrong with
But
that
you've also
at all.
got to make sure that you sleep a lot during the day, because if you don't,
Yeah.
then that will be deleterious to your health.
I don't, I get too excited to sleep during the day because even during the day I'm thinking, right, what are we going to do tonight?
Yeah,
Well,
but
we
you
come
can't
back and
do
do
that.
another show, and I get excited, the adrenaline's running,
Yeah, but that's where it's dangerous.
I get
And
a few ideas.
Anyone who's listening to this now, who's working on a night shift,
get a
they
few
know
ideas
they know that you
of-
can't spend your day
of what I wanna do.
Would you mind not talking over me?
No, I'm not talking over you. I'm sorry, I'm
Yes,
listening.
you are.
Listening.
The point is that they can't do the same thing during the day as everybody else because they have to sleep, and that's if you don't sleep, you eventually will actually go mad.
Yeah, you build up jet lag. Now, have you ever suffered from jet lag?
Well, not particularly. No,
I've
I never
never been
really
aware
have.
of jet lag.
Not
I've
really.
never been aware of jet lag, right? When we fly to America, right, which we're going to do soon,
Yeah.
because we're going to go and do
Are
a
we?
concert there probably. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What,
Well,
is it something else you've organised
No, it's the
without
one
telling me?
It's the one we talked about. Why? What else have I organised that I haven't told you about?
Well, the ZZ Top thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't understand why you're not more enthusiastic about that. You have a very dull life, actually, Mike.
My life is not dull at all.
Outside of these studios. All right, well, it's not dull.
No,
it's-
the difference between you
it's
and me
regulated.
is that
Yeah.
I've got loads going on outside of these
Yeah,
studios,
yeah.
and you haven't. So
Well,
therefore,
I
you're
have.
organising things for me all the time.
No, I'm not. Don't you want to do ZZ Top?
No, of course not.
Why not?
I told you last
No,
night.
you didn't. You didn't make yourself clear at all. You
Really?
do want to do it, but you just want to sort of make out that you're reluctant to do it because you don't have any confidence you could succeed. Because let's face it, Mike, basically, you're a loser. That's my view.
No, I just don't want to be
That's my
shoehorned into
view.
doing something that I haven't been asked
rubbish.
about.
You're frightened of getting up on the stage and me exposing you as being hopeless at keeping up with me as a ZZ Top contestant.
No, I have no ambition to be a ZZ Top impersonator.
Well, what do you want to do then?
What do I want to do?
Yeah, if we went on to Stars in Your Eyes,
I
what
don't
do you
want to go on
do?
Stars in Your Eyes.
Hey, go on, think of somebody else.
I
I'll
don't-
tell you.
you asked me this last
here,
night.
Here, I've got one. I've thought of it today because I'm always thinking.
Yeah.
What about being Yorn and Benny in ABBA? And we could get two young chicks to,
I
to
don't have
pose
any
as
desire to go on Stars in
Agnetha
Your
and
Eyes.
Annie Fred.
Why
Eh?
don't you just go on it on your own as Kenny Rogers?
Well, we've been through that. The other two, by the way, because I did see them once, and
Yeah.
my God, what a shock it was. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young?
Yes.
You ever seen Crosby lately?
No, but I saw him about 20 years ago and he looked pretty bad then.
I'm not joking. Alan Brazil looks slim compared to
Does he?
David Crosby. And I don't know what stool they got him to sit on, but he was sitting on this stool. They must have reinforced it. I mean, he's a giant of a man. But the trouble is that all the rest of the band look quite normal again.
Yeah.
So you'd be Crosby, the great fat man mountain, and I'd have to be Stephen Stills or somebody like that.
Something like that, no doubt. Yes. Well, anyway, we're
It
going
was
to
the
talk
guy from the
about...
Hollies who was in that.
Hey?
Graham Nash, that's right.
Graham Nash, yeah.
yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No, just so I'd, let you know.
Well, we'll be talking about Porky Vision coming up very, very shortly. And also, Porky's got a holiday planned, would you believe? A lot of people would be pleased to hear that. This is Talk Sport.
Let it go, let it go. I am one with the wind and sky. Let it go, let it go. You'll never see me cry. Here I stand, here I stay. Let the storm rage on.
Is that reminding you of anything? Is that ringing any bells for you?
Is that the film Penguins?
Penguins?
Penguins.
Well, I think it's called Penguins, is it?
What's it called?
Well, is it not called Frozen?
Oh, Frozen. Yeah, that's it. Is that about penguins, though?
Well,
Or
it's
is it
about-
animated? Is that
it's
animated?
an animated film,
Oh,
yeah.
no. I'm thinking about the one about the March of the Penguins.
The March of the
Why
Penguins
couldn't
is...
we have the March of the Penguins?
Well, it's
See, you
called...
can't get anything right, can you?
Well, it's called March of the Penguins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not called Penguins.
No, that wasn't the March of the Penguins, was it?
No, it wasn't.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No,
Why
'cause
couldn't we have
penguins
the
don't
theme
actually
music from
sing.
the March of the Penguins?
Well, we could have had that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll
that's
get
what
that
I'm
next
saying.
time for you, if you like.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
You're going to see some penguins, you're telling me.
Well, I was just telling you, I mean, I came to you and I said, look, are you planning a holiday this year? Because I need to know.
Right.
Now, the reason is because I assume that when you go on holiday in the summer,
Yeah.
you'll go somewhere nice and warm with your children
I would
and all
hope
that kind of
so, yeah.
stuff. Whereas I want to go to the southern hemisphere, where, of course, it will be winter.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
And the
Because you don't
condi-
like the heat, do you?
No, I don't like the
Don't
heat.
like the summer.
No, I want to go somewhere cold. I've come across an opportunity to join an Antarctic scientific expedition.
Really?
Yeah, to the South Pole.
Uh-huh.
Right, and
How do you qualify for that, then?
you pay £40,000.
40,000
Yeah,
quid?
40 grand. Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
For a
but
week's holiday?
But no, it's not a week. No, this would be about 3 months.
So you'll be away for 3 months.
About 3 months, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, that just about fits into the sort of summer break for football and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
doesn't it? Lots of people are away during that time.
What, 3 months?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
nobody's away for 3 months. The football break now is only about 6 weeks, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's true, it is.
You
yeah.
know, they
But
hardly ever break.
But it's once in a lifetime, and I thought, well, if it happens and I can arrange it, got to go for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you not have to qualify in some way if it's a scientific trip?
Well, you've got to
because
be-
you'll be in close proximity with people for a long time.
what do you mean qualify?
Well, in terms of, your suitability for such a thing.
What do you mean?
Well,
you
if
think
you're
I'm
go- well, if-
antisocial or something?
Well, it's not that, no, but it's just
Yeah.
that if you're going, presumably, to some station somewhere in the middle of...
oh no, you're moving all the time.
So when you're on a ship or something?
Well, you fly
Yeah.
onto the ice.
Yeah.
Then you go to Ice Station Zebra
Yeah,
or
so
something
if you
like
say
that.
you're in
see what
Ice
I mean?
Station
Yeah.
Zebra, whatever
Yeah.
it's called, I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty small.
Yeah,
And if
it-
you're in
yeah.
an enclosed space for a long time
Well,
with
no, it's a
people,
scientific compound. It's quite big.
don't they want to make sure that, you're going to be able to get on with all of that stuff?
Well, I get on with everybody, so there's
No,
not a
I know
problem
you get on
there.
with everybody,
It's
but
not
in
a problem.
Yeah, but in
And
terms
they
of...
probably know who I am anyway, so they probably
I'm
think
sure
it'd
they
be a
probably
good
do.
thing.
They're
Be a
probably
good
in
thing,
great
you know.
admiration of your
Yeah,
scientific
well,
knowledge as well.
Well,
Right.
that is the whole point. But I mean, what an opportunity!
Yeah.
How many people would be able to, stand in the pub in sort of, a country pub in Surrey,
Yeah.
and have a conversation with the regulars and tell them about, when I was at the South Pole recently.
It's a very expensive story, that,
yeah,
though, isn't it?
well,
40 grand.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
And it would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be, yeah.
If somebody offered
Well,
you
I think
the
it might be
opportunity-
wasted on you, though.
Why?
Well, because I don't think you'd want to take all of that stuff in because you already know everything, do you? I mean, every time we get a
Look,
scientist
that's
on
very
there...
kind of you to say that, Mike, but I think you're being a bit...
No, but whenever we
a
get a
bit-
scientist on here, you normally end up disagreeing with them and saying they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, it depends whether they're talking nonsense
Yeah.
or not, right? That's all.
But I can
tell
see
you.
a vision of you down at Ice Station Zebra kind of telling them which way to point the telescope and telling them
No,
which way
no,
to
it
measure
wouldn't.
everything.
But one of the reason we played the Penguins thing
Yeah.
is that one of the great benefits of doing this is you will see millions of penguins.
You will.
Because the penguins are only in the south. There's no penguins in the north, are there?
No.
There's what's in the north are the polar bears.
That's
You've got
right.
polar bears in the Arctic,
Yeah.
the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
Penguins in the south, in the southern hemisphere,
That's
in the
right.
Antarctic.
And
yeah?
occasionally you find one that swims all the way. There was one last year, I think, it swam all the way to Australia, didn't it?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And they took it back.
Incredible.
Took it back.
Is
put
this
the
a
crate, took it
serious
back.
endeavour then?
No, it's a very serious endeavour. I mean, I know that you mock me all the time for
I do
the
not mock you
ideas
all the
that I
time.
bring to
Not at all.
to bear and try to discuss with you. You're dismissive.
But
you're
all
rude.
I'm saying,
You treat me like I'm some kind of a nutter, and this is something which I have already researched
Yeah.
and which I think could be on.
Yeah, well, it could well be, but I'm sure that they'll
Hmm.
want to vet you, and I don't mean in any way, shape, or form to criticise your kind of
Yeah.
ambitions.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
surely they will want to make sure that whoever they're taking on this trip is a suitable person, a suitable candidate for it.
You talk about getting around there and all that. You can get around through different parts of the Ice Station Zebra. And by the way, it's not called Ice Station
No, I know.
Zebra.
That
We
was
just
the name
called
of
it
the-
that.
that
You know
was
what I
the
mean?
name
Yeah.
of the movie, wasn't it? Yeah.
Through tunnels bored down into the ice, which can be miles and miles long.
Really?
Got trains running through them.
Wow.
And also, yeah, honestly, and because of course the permafrost there is so solid, it would never
When
collapse.
did they
or
build
anything.
these tunnels then?
Oh, they've been building them for years.
Have they?
Oh, yeah. It's a sort of well-known secret, really.
Well-known secret?
Yeah, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they've got these tunnels all over the place. So you might have Ice Station Zebra here, and then you might have Ice Station Zebra outpost over there,
Right.
4 miles away, and there'll be a subterranean tunnel, which you can either walk or get a train on to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Astonishing.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, you're looking at me like I'm
because
talking
I've never
in
ever
Arabic.
heard of an underground network of tunnels
Well, there
with
is.
trains in them
Yeah, there is.
underneath the ice.
There is. Well, how do you think they get around in these scientific stations?
Well, that's why they don't get around very much.
They do
because
get
one,
around.
It's incredibly cold, and two, they use helicopters or dog sleds.
And
don't they?
planes.
And
planes
planes,
with
yeah.
skis instead of
Right.
wheels on. Yeah, but has it never occurred to you the easiest thing to do would be to bore down into the permafrost and build a tunnel?
Well, but you can tell them that when you go down there.
Yeah.
If
What-
they
what
haven't
do you
got
mean?
these tunnels, if you find that they haven't got the tunnels, you could say to them,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be easier to just build some underground stations?
Here's a bit of information, which I found out, which I will share with you.
Yeah, go on.
Part of the joy of being down there is as a special guest, you're able to enjoy 3-course gourmet champagne dinners. yeah.
That doesn't sound much of a scientific trip, does it?
And you could spend different nights each in a futuristic scientific pod.
Wow.
How about that?
That would suit you down to the ground. That'd be great.
Well,
Imagine stories you'd be able to tell
right,
when you came
yeah.
back to be back on Talk Sport.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
What's a scientific pod, though?
Well, I suppose it's got like all sorts of instruments about it because when the wind blows
Yeah.
and the snow's coming in and it's minus 25,
Right.
you'll be recording all sorts of data about the extreme weather conditions which you don't get anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
That'd be quite. I mean, it'd be fantastic.
So
if we pull it off.
so what's the process for all of this? And do you have to kind of apply for it, or do you just stump up the money and off you go?
No. I'm talking, negotiating, talking
Thinking
about it at the moment. Yeah.
Well, I think it would be a fascinating place to go.
Exactly.
3 months is a long time though to be away.
Well, what I would do
maybe
is,
you could negotiate a shorter.
No, that's
sort of
exactly
visit.
that. Exactly. Yeah. I think you have to pay the full amount,
Yeah.
right? Because
And
it's
just
that,
get them to fly you out a month later.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And then you just say, right, thanks a lot, and all that kind of stuff. I'm off ski, and you head off back to civilization. You know, I'm sure that's what you do, but you have to. You know, because it's part of a scientific experiment and you're part of a team, you have to sign up for the 3 months.
And this would be a big break for you as well, because actually you're not somebody who goes on holiday.
I've never been on holiday for like 30
and all those
years.
trips that we talked about the other day, were mostly these kind of, shall we say, freebies you used to do.
No, they weren't freebies. They weren't.
When you were at Papers, though, you used to get freebies.
fact finding. They were facility. Fact finding facility trips. Yeah, yeah, that's right, absolutely. By the way, I was reading something about a woman. This is no joke.
Yeah.
Who was lived on a luxury liner for 7 years.
Really?
She's wealthy old widow.
What, like a cruise ship?
Yeah, she lived on a cruise ship for 7 years. Wealthy old widow, right? And she literally kept the same cabin for 7 years. And the ship, changes.
Just goes around to different parts of the world.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So it's a mobile home and all that.
I can't imagine anything worse than a cruise ship. Actually.
Well, I was about to say, God knows how you survive that. I mean, I know it's a floating city and all that, but it's not a very big city, is it?
It's not that big, no.
And after about 2 or 3 days, the people who sit on the table, next to you in the dining room and all that,
but I suppose
will just
the
bore
thing
you
is,
to death.
They do actually stop for a while in places, don't they? I mean, so
Yeah,
she
but
might
only
end up-
usually for a day or two.
Yeah, well, maybe she gets off and hangs around for a couple of days, goes back on.
Maybe spend most of your time at sea. But what an astonishing story! I fancy doing that.
Yeah.
Cool, blimey. Because I was going to say, when I went, the only cruise ship I've been on was the QE2.
Yeah.
Went across the Atlantic. And
Oh, did you go all the way?
I went to New York.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
From Southampton.
From Southampton, that's right, yeah. And by the way, the departure lounge at Southampton was so
Yeah, my parents went on that
grim.
trip, and I took them down there, and it wasn't. Yeah,
it was like a shack. It was
Well,
like a
it's-
corrugated iron shack. It was awful.
presumably you were on the upper class bit, though, weren't you?
Yeah, but I'm talking about arriving at the QE2 terminal. What a terrible
I know.
advert for Britain.
Well,
It
you used to have to sort of drive through the whole docks,
That's right.
didn't you, to
That's
get
right.
there?
Like through a car park
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, And then contrast that with getting to Pier 99 or what it was, whatever it was in Manhattan,
Yeah.
But the point I was going to make it is that everybody thinks that people who go on cruises, just sit there and the sun shines and all that. The trouble with the mid-Atlantic is the weather's awful.
Yeah.
There is no weather.
My parents had the same problem. They
Yeah.
came across and there was like 40-foot waves.
Oh,
and the boat
terrible.
was going up and down and
Terrible.
up and down, and everyone
Terrible.
was ill. And my dad ended up getting some kind of bug from the place as well.
Well, it was shocking, but the QE2 is such an odd ship. I found this little cocktail bar by the second swimming pool
Right.
on like deck 7 or something like that. And the chap who was the barman there was a Scouser, he was a Liverpool man, and he was coming near to retirement. That was his job on the ship, on every crossing, right?
Yeah.
Very few people know about that area of the ship. He was a chronic alcoholic who
Was
just
he?
drunk all the whiskey and gin and the spirits and all that kind of
He
stuff.
told you all this, did he?
Yeah, he told me all this, yeah,
Right.
because I sat there with
They
him.
put him in charge of a bar.
They put him in charge of a bar,
Doesn't
yeah.
sound like
Yeah,
a very good idea, does it?
they put him in charge of a bar.
Right.
He didn't have anything to do except serve drinks. He said some days he only served 6 drinks a day.
Right.
So he drank the rest himself, and nobody seemed to mind.
Yeah.
And we sat there smoking cigarettes in the middle of the Atlantic, while it was very dull and overcast and all that. And
Yeah.
he told me his life story about, running away to sea when he was 15
Yeah.
and ended up on the QE2. Quite romantic, that, really.
Quite a romantic story.
Yeah.
Well, it's the sort of thing
Yeah.
a lot of people from Liverpool did. 'Cause
Yeah.
It was very much that sort of city, wasn't it?
Well, of course it was. And, we were talking about John Lennon earlier and all that kind of stuff. The influence that the Beatles got was from sailors coming over from America in the, in the years after the Second World War, when Liverpool was still the world's biggest seaport, by
Yeah.
the way. The world's biggest seaport, and they were bringing all these rock and roll records and sort of black music and jazz music and all
Right.
sorts of things, and that was definitely the influence. By the way,
I only ever went a bit like some of the other things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you do a sort of in a bigger way. I went on the QE2 only from the Verrazano Narrows Bridge back into New York.
Oh, right.
Because I was allowed to there was some PR thing going on.
Yeah,
I took
yeah,
a
yeah,
tugboat out. Put one of those tugboats out into the middle of the New York harbour,
Right.
which was great. But then we got to sail in as if we'd actually been on it for days. And I think
I
I don't
see.
think I'd want to do 6 or 7 days on a boat.
No, I don't blame you. And by the way, talking about the Beatles and all that, mate, I tell you who died this week, and I read an obituary on him because I knew who he was.
Who was it?
Ray McFall. And Ray McFall was the guy.
Ray McFall?
He invented the Cavern Club.
Oh, did he?
So everybody thinks that it was Brian Epstein invented the Beatles and all that.
Right.
This chap, Ray McFall, who had nothing to do with music business, he was a property man.
Right.
He bought the building
Right.
and found a cellar. And he thought, well, I'm sure we can utilise this somehow, you know, and 18 steps down to the basement and all that. And it was just as that sort of music era was blossoming, he said, we'll open it and we'll call it the Cavern, because it looked like a cavern downstairs. And he took the Beatles on for 25 shillings. That was their first gig, right? Wow. And without the Cavern, the Beatles never have made it, because there was nothing else for them. You know,
was that before they went to Hamburg or after they came back?
It was when they got back from Hamburg.
Yeah, okay.
And he didn't like their scruffy outfits, didn't like their jeans and the black leather and all that. And then Brian Epstein came in, saw them, told them to smarten up and all that. But their association with the Cavern was so strong that even after they played at the London Palladium, at the Royal Variety Performance, they still came back and did one last concert at the Cavern. And the pity of it was, once the Beatles left, there were a few others like Billy J. Kramer and people like that, and Cilla Black played there. But it basically, once the Beatles had gone and they lived in Surrey, it was all over. And so the Cavern got into debt. Mr. McFall couldn't afford to pay it, they closed down.
But it's one of those famous, iconic names, isn't it, the Cavern Club?
And he tried to raise money to rescue it, to open it again. Yeah. By the time he did, they'd knocked it down. Although it was a cellar and all that, the building above had been demolished and been rebuilt, and the cellar had been taken into that building. So the Cavern Club that you go to today in Matthew Street, it was in the same street as Matthew Street.
I think there's a big row going on about the Cavern Club at the moment as well.
Well, it's not in the same building. It's in a different building,
right,
because it could never have been there. But a fantastic story. This chap, you know, literally was nothing to do with the pop business. He just wanted to get involved with property and found this opening and create, and, you know, was, well, very contributory to the emergence of the Beatles as the force they became.
I think it was an interesting line in that interview with John Lennon as well, when they asked him, do you like Beatles songs? He basically said no. Didn't like any of the songs that he'd done with the Beatles.
Well, I read that interview as well, Mike. I remember that. Do you remember what he said about Help?
Yeah.
He said, I wrote Help because I needed help. He said, I'd become demented with the Beatles. Paul and I were going in different directions musically. I didn't like his granny music. He didn't like what I was doing. He said, and I'd become a messiah. And what he said was, what they used to do was, they'd go to concerts when they were still on the road, right?
Yeah.
And they would put the people in the wheelchairs on the front row. And then, depending on what country they were in, like if it was Manila or something like that, these people thought John Lennon could make them walk again. And he'd become a sort of messiah person. And he wrote the song Help to try and help him understand what had become of him.
Terrible story. Now, coming up in about, 25 minutes, we're going to be doing Porky Vision. So, and one of the things that people always say is Porky going to review anything that's actually current? This time you are, because it's all current. Yeah. It's all this week, isn't it?
Listen, I'm going to give you chapter and verse on Wolf Hall.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether you watched it or not. Hard luck. It's a much anticipated one, and our listeners deserve it. Also, I'm going to be fighting back for Broadchurch. That's coming for some terrible criticism.
Yeah, they've lost a load of viewers, haven't they?
Well, you know, it's disgraceful the way that's being hammered. Now, Mike, I want to address something with you.
Okay.
I believe that we should have a regular business slot on this show.
A business slot?
A business slot, because I'm very interested in business.
Yes,
okay,
of course.
I'm very interested. I keep my finger on the pulse. I look at the business pages avidly.
Do you?
I watch the stock market going up and down. Stock market's very important to my wealth.
What's your analysis of the current state of the economy then?
Well, it's good.
Is it?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. And the point is, I think the stock market's reached a record figure today. 666, believe it or not.
That's not a good number, though, is it? Isn't that a number of the beast?
Yeah,
Some people would think that's a bit unlucky.
But what I'm saying is, you've got to remember, a lot of investments in this country rely on the strength of the stock market. Stock market goes down, so do your pension funds and all that kind of stuff, right? And I'm interested, what interests me are the personalities involved in business, okay? And I've just read a fascinating, absolutely fascinating insight into the man who founded Poundland.
Right.
Who was a street trader.
Was he? Yeah.
And has now got like hundreds of millions.
And there's loads of Poundlands everywhere now, but they're not. Well, presumably they're not all owned by the same guy, because there's different offshoots, isn't there? There's 99p shops, but the actual Poundland shop.
The Poundland shop, the 99p shop and all that, they're all different, or nothing costs more than £1 here or something like that. But it's so interesting, because these guys, like Alan Sugar, Lord Sugar, I mean, they're fascinating men. Because, I mean, I read a biography on Theo Paphitis.
Oh, yeah.
What a fascinating man. He came to this country, his family came to this country from Greece.
Yeah.
And
he's the Dragon's Den guy, right?
He's Dragon's Den guy, but he bought Ryman's.
Yeah.
He bought a couple of others, but I can't quite remember the names. But I tell you another businessman who fascinates me. I've been reading about him this week, Sir Terence Leahy.
Oh, yes, he's the guy who used to run Tesco's.
No, Sir Terence Leahy ran Tesco's and built it into the biggest business in this country. £1 in 7 spent in the high street was spent in Tesco's, right?
And since he left, it's all kind of unravelled.
Well,
hasn't it?
Do you know what? I I compare it to Manchester United.
Yeah.
If you've got one man who's right at the top of an organisation, holding it all together with his skill and his brains, his determination, his hard work, then he leaves. Unless you've got a cinema genius to move in, it falls to pieces.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to Manchester United.
And they had kind of two, I suppose, because they made the terrible mistake of letting not only Sir Alex Ferguson go at the same time as the guy that was the managing director, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, the same thing happened to Tesco because Sir Terence Leahy went, and then the new man who comes in, I think his name was Philip Clark, was it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's Philip Clark, but guy with the glasses and all that. He comes in and brings his own people in, much the same way as the new manager at United brings his own people in.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you've got a raft of top-tier management. I mean, some of these guys are paid millions of pounds, had millions of pounds in options. It simply didn't work.
No.
Now, what happened is everybody's now backstabbing each other at Tesco's, recriminations, whose fault was it? And the Clark guy, the new guy, if that's his name, I'll double-check that, I think his name's Philip Clark, indicated recently that, well, Sir Terence Leahy left at the moment he realised these problems were coming, i.e. competition from Lidl and Aldi, right? Undercutting
and Sainsbury's and everybody else.
Well, mostly the German opposition who
ones,
undercutting, and he sort of insinuated he got out while the going was good. Well, Terence Leahy has fought back and said, I'm sorry, but I can tell you there was nothing wrong with the business when I was in control of it, and whoever...
And actually there's a similar parallel to United there as well, because a lot of people accuse Sir Alex Ferguson of kind of letting it wither on the vine and not spend any money and then suddenly leave.
Exactly. Do you spend a lot of time in supermarkets?
I suppose not as much as...
I know you spend a lot of time in Borough Market.
I do spend a lot of time in Borough
Buying all sorts of organic food to try and make yourself...
Although, funnily enough, not so much as I used to.
Feel like a martyr.
Yeah, I used to go to Borough Market on the way to... I was getting on the train at London Bridge, but now I don't get on the train at London Bridge, I drive.
London Bridge is closed, isn't it?
It's a terrible mess. I'm so glad I got my car. I've got a story about my car, actually, to tell you in a little while.
Excellent.
But, yeah, I spend a fair amount of time in supermarkets, but I get a lot of shopping done online now.
I like supermarkets. I think they're great because they're... To me, an efficient supermarket indicates to me the success of capitalism and the success of the Western world.
Does it?
Well, I've been to Russia, and I've been to supermarkets in Russia when communism was still going, and there was nothing in the supermarkets. I've been to Poland when there was nothing in the supermarkets. And the contrast is fantastic.
It's probably not like that anymore, though, is it?
Well, the only shops that are full in Russia these days are those that cater for Harvey Nichols' crowd. You see what I mean?
The super wealthy.
Yeah. I mean, your working class people, they're still, scraping around. But the other thing about supermarkets is I think they're very social. I think they're very social places.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them are open 24 hours now. A lot of people wait until it's quite late at night and go shopping in the middle of the night because they like it. It's nice and quiet.
I do that.
Yeah.
I can do that sometimes. Sometimes I go home, there's a 24-hour supermarket near me. But no, I used to play a trick in supermarkets, right? When I was young and or younger, younger,
yes.
And pretty attractive sort of guy. You know what I mean? No. I mean,
well, you would have presumably thought that once again that you would get out of a reasonably nice car, wandered into the supermarket with a load of money to spend.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and that would have made you attractive.
Well, I think so because I had a top job. I was an executive in Fleet Street, right? And what I used to do is I had this trick actually. I used to, if I spotted an attractive woman with a trolley or something like that, you know what I mean? I used to sort of start peering at the shelves near to her, you know, and I said, I'm awfully sorry. I said, you don't know where the coffee is, do you? Or, you don't know where the...
Strike up a conversation.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. What's the stuff you put in coffee to make it whiter?
Milk.
No, you fooled. The powder stuff.
The powdered stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, Coffee Mate.
Coffee Mate, that's right, yeah. So I'd say, I'm sorry, you don't know the coffee. Right, and this used to intrigue these women because, women have an instinct to try and help helpless men.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, they do.
It's a domestic instinct,
It's a mothering thing.
It is. If you're standing there with an iron in your hand and there's an iron on the ironing board, but you fold it the wrong way, they'll do something about it, because women are nice. That's a sort
Generally
of thing.
Speaking, they don't expect you to be able to know how to do something like that.
So I would strike up a conversation with this woman, after trying to work out, whether she was attached or unattached and married or whatever.
How did you manage to do that?
What?
I'd work out whether she was attached.
Well, to see if she's wearing a ring to start off with, to strike a conversation, see how friendly she was in response and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Tell her a few of my best jokes, about supermarkets, you know what I mean, and all that kind of stuff.
Does this ever work for you? This?
Oh yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. Oh, it's incredible. And then I'd make out I was so hopeless, Oh, I didn't know. Oh, what's this? Oh, well, and my favourite one was.
Well, how do you go from where's the Coffee Mate to would you like to have dinner with me then?
Oh, well, I'm about to tell you. So where's the coffee mate? I got the coffee mate. And I said, oh, look, it's very kind of you. I said, Look, there's one other thing I can't cope with. I said I can't.
But hang on, if she said to you the coffee mate's in aisle 7, right,
Yes.
and you're in aisle 1, what happens then?
No, I knew the coffee mate was in the aisle I was in. I was just
Oh, I
making out
see.
I was thick
Oh,
and
I see.
short-sighted and
Oh,
couldn't
right.
see it.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Right.
it's a plot. It's
Oh,
a
so
plan.
it's a plot.
It's
So
plan.
she might think that you're well off and have a
Yeah,
good job,
yeah.
but she thinks now you're short-sighted.
No, she just thinks I'm, just a helpless male.
No, right, okay.
And so all her protective female instincts come
quite
out. See what I mean?
underhand, really,
No,
isn't
it's
it?
not. No, it's not. No. But anyway, so then I'd say, I said, are you going down that way? I said, because the one thing always fools me, I said, is the softener for the washing machine.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, oh, really? I said, yeah. I said, because what I did last time was I bought a bottle, a plastic bottle of washing, what do you call it?
Washing powder.
Washing powder, that's right, yeah, except it was liquid, you
Yeah.
know. And I bought another one, which I thought was the fabric softener, but it was another bottle of Persil
Right.
powder.
And she presumably thought, my goodness me, this
Yeah.
guy washes his own clothes.
Yeah, or something like that, yeah, or whatever. Anyway, it got to the stage where she eventually agreed to come back to my apartment to show me how to put it into the washing machine.
Well, this is all in the place of one sort of trip to the shops.
It's all in the space of one trip to
Blimey.
the shops. Because what I said was, I said, you know what, I've got a new washing machine. I don't even know how to... And I'll tell you what we're doing. We were sitting down in the supermarket having a coffee.
Right.
That's absolutely right. You know, they have these things called... You can park your trolley garage or something like that, or whatever they're called.
Well, they have a little locker, don't they? for
yeah,
it?
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Anyway. all right,
You put £1 in the slot.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
something
all
like that,
relatively
yeah.
recent. You've done this quite recently, haven't you?
No. In those days, somebody looked after them for you,
Oh,
something
okay.
like that, or whatever, your bags and whatever.
Right.
You sit down with a coffee. So I eventually enticed her to come back to my place
Right.
and show me how the washing machine worked.
Right. And did she?
She did.
Showed you how the washing machine works?
She did show me how the washing machine worked.
What else did
yeah.
she do?
Well, I'm not getting into that. All I'm saying is that I think that supermarkets can be very sociable places. Extremely sociable.
Right.
Because they're a very clean environment. They smell beautiful because there's all sorts of deodorants and detergents and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm just
Just
saying.
give it a mug of tea with grumpy old Git on it.
Oh dear me, you think that's just a mistake?
I think
isn't
it's
it?
a mistake, yeah.
It's a mistake.
Clearly
Yeah,
it's a mistake.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, being a bit smarter than the average bear,
Yeah.
I wonder how many men of my generation realised what a furtive ground it was for making friendships and relationships.
Fertile and furtive.
with,
Actually, furtive was a Freudian slip. It was very furtive of you to do that.
No, I didn't say that.
Presumably you had to use different supermarkets, otherwise you'd have got a reputation.
No, not really.
You just want to keep going back to the same one.
Well, millions of people use supermarkets every day.
Yeah, I know, but if
When do you ever see the same person in a supermarket?
Well,
more,
I'll see
more than once?
people that I know in a supermarket.
Oh, I don't. I
Yeah.
don't. Mind you, go to big supermarkets and there's so many aisles and all that. That's another thing. We sell too many things in supermarkets in this country.
Yeah, that's the trouble. Well, that was where Tesco's went wrong, because they started doing all this other stuff and making sure that you could get your mobile
Yeah.
phone there and
Yeah.
you could get your
Yeah.
holidays there and you could buy
Sure.
your insurance there.
Sure.
And they're starting to pare all that back now. In fact,
That's another thing.
They're selling off their phone company
That's
now.
another thing I forgot to tell you.
Go on.
On a couple of occasions, I managed to.
Seen the time, by the way.
I managed to make a date with two of the checkout girls.
Really? Yeah. Good God.
Yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely amazing.
By being confident and outgoing and that sort of stuff, and complimenting them. Women like being complimented.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
don't like being used and abused.
No,
either.
not usually. I said,
Preyed
what
upon.
time? You say simple things. What time do you finish here? Oh, really? Oh, I finished there. I said, look, I'll be across the road if you want to come and have a quick drink. After, Yeah.
I can't believe you had any
Yeah.
success with that
I
at
did.
all.
I did.
Incredible stuff. Porky Vision coming up very soon. Some other stuff as well. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Lie down on the couch. What does that mean? You're a nut. You're crazy in the coconut. What does that mean? That boy needs therapy. I'm gonna kill you.
This is
That
Talk
boy
Sport,
needs
extra time with the Two Mikes. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. There will be a podcast coming out. Just follow at the Two Mikes and you'll find out when it's available. It was available very early yesterday, just about 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, let me read you a few tweets that we've got
Okay.
here, at the Two Mikes. Rye says, is Mike Parry really going to Ice Station Zebra? Is he starring in The Thing 2? Guess who he will be? And William says, if Porky goes to Antarctica, he'll have to keep a daily diary called Letter from the South Pole, and MG could read it out on air every day.
Yeah,
well, I
good
think the
idea.
idea is that I'm supposed to be on holiday at the same time. aren't
Yeah,
I?
exactly. Yeah.
I won't be going away for a whole month, though.
Yeah.
And Paul says, the gift that keeps on giving, the Two Mikes, the Antarctic underground, absolutely priceless. It has to be sleep deprivation talking. See, people are starting to get a bit worried you haven't had enough sleep. That's the problem. And let's see, here's one from...
What's so unusual about if you've got a complex, most complexes, military or industrial or anything like that,
Or
have
military and industrial.
Yeah, have little underground railways, don't they?
Well, yeah, maybe.
I mean,
but
for instance,
in the Antarctic,
Atlanta Airport, which
Yeah.
you and I have used, 100 times,
Yeah.
I think it's got a bigger underground network than, most cities.
Well, it might have. It's a massive airport. I used to
It
hate
is.
going through Atlanta.
Yeah,
It's a terrible
yeah.
place.
Well,
People
it-
used to say in America that if you were going to heaven, you had to go via Atlanta. didn't
Yeah,
they?
it had parallel runways where
Yeah.
planes took off at the same time, and to my absolute terror, I was talking to an air hostess as we were taking off one time. Oh, she
Did you meet her in
said,
a supermarket?
sorry,
Did you
no, I
meet her
didn't mean in a supermarket. No, and she said, oh, it's a race to get up to 32,000 feet because the planes took off at exactly the same times, and the pilots have a race to get. And she said, the implications of it are if you cut corners, it could be a real
Right.
problem.
Well, yeah, imagine if you just sort of turned slightly the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that whole section of American airspace, though,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
eastern seaboard, is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
A couple more here. Here's one from the main stand who says, I hope the two mics see the lesson in this Tesco story. Don't spread yourself too thin. I don't think there's any question of doing that.
Well,
And,
certainly not in your case.
No.
Thin and you don't go together.
And James says, old Mike Parry, the modern-day Casanova. Hashtag stalker.
What do you mean?
Well, I think he's talking about your little visits to the supermarket.
Well, hang on.
Well, surely after you went and chatted up
Yeah.
some of the checkout girls,
Yeah.
and then presumably went out with them a couple of times, you couldn't keep going back there, could you?
Well, you're just being sociable. Most checkout girls that I've ever come across are taught to be sociable to their customers anyway, because it's it's a sign of
Yeah, but they don't
welcoming them
expect to
the
be
business
chatted up
market.
by them, though.
Why not? Why
Well,
not?
because they don't expect it.
Well, a lot of people at work form relationships all the time. Nothing wrong with that at
With
all.
the people they work with, yeah, but not with the customers.
Very high
necessarily.
turnover of checkout girls in a lot of supermarkets.
Yeah, right.
So there's no problem. And you can always use another
So,
supermarket.
I mean, I'm just quite puzzled by this.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say, did you ever get a woman saying, get lost, don't talk to me in a supermarket? Did you ever
No,
get that?
never.
Were you ever rebuffed?
Never, because I'm very, very good sociologically at working out the response you get from somebody when you start a conversation.
Right.
And I either know this is a situation that's going to develop, or it's one I should stop right now,
Yeah.
or it's one that I better, not take a risk on or a chance on or something like that, because I'm very, very good at reading the signs. Mike,
Did you ever make a mistake? Like, did you ever have like a coffee mate in the trolley and ask where the coffee mate was?
No, I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid.
Well, it can happen.
And also, you've got to remember, Mike, we are, I know people will laugh at this, but we are trained observers.
We are.
That's
true.
our job,
Yeah.
to spot things in life and report upon them, for a very long part of our lives. That's
Yeah.
what we did.
That's true.
So there's no way in the world I was going to mess it up by getting that all wrong. No way in the world.
That is one of the things you actually do learn as a journalist, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you're talking to a lot of strangers
Yeah,
all the
of course
time.
you are. Yeah.
Precisely how they're going to work.
Yeah.
Now, I've got one I want to ask you about here that
Yeah.
I spotted earlier on. You were having some problems with your passwords and your email being hacked and all that. That hasn't happened for a while, I presume.
I hope not.
It's all been reasonably
Yeah.
good. There's a story about some of the worst passwords of 2014 by a security firm.
Oh, yeah.
And they've put out some of the ones that people have used. And one of the things that they say that you should never do is use either a sporting team or your name or your date
Oh,
of
really?
birth or anything like that,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to... but do you know what the worst password is to have that people were actually using
No.
in 2014?
Oh, yeah,
you won't
I'll
believe
guess.
this.
I'll guess.
You won't believe it.
I'll guess.
Go on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Same as the year before.
Yeah.
And the next one is password. Just the word password,
Really?
which is absolutely incredible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lots and lots of
Unbelievable.
ridiculous words, because these guys that go around sort of hacking into what it is that you do.
Yeah.
They find easy ways of getting into your system, and hopefully you won't have any problems with that.
There's another story knocking around in tomorrow morning's papers that once again the fraudsters who rob you at cash hole-in-the-wall cash machines,
the ones that put those false fronts on.
have now got even more sophisticated equipment.
Right.
You'd never spot the camera anymore.
Right.
And even now, when you hold your hand over the keypad as you're tapping it out, that won't save you anymore
No.
because
Well,
they've got-
lots of times they put this false front on, right? And so they see
Yeah.
you. It eats your card,
Yeah.
which you don't realise is not the real machine.
Yeah.
They come and take the front off and get your card back and take the money.
Sometimes it doesn't eat your card. Sometimes they're so sophisticated, it just takes all the details off your card in the few seconds it's inside before it comes out again.
Right.
And then they've got your password, because when you tap it in like that, they've got sensors underneath the pad. And they only need a few minutes to be able
know.
to install all that equipment and do it, I know.
Shocking. I had a bad thing happen to me today, which I want to tell you about, with the car.
Right.
I went out to pick up a couple of things, walked out, didn't actually notice, went to
Yeah.
the petrol station. As I was walking back to the car, I noticed that there's a big scrape across the bonnet. And there's a big kind of, not puncture mark, but like a dent just above the right front headlight. which I can only work out was done by a lorry, which was obviously trying to cut the corner around the car. Do you know what I mean? So the car's there.
That sounds
it's
bad.
scraped it like that. It's not. I mean, it hasn't affected the light, and it's just a little scrape on the bonnet.
If it scraped the paintwork,
Yeah.
that means it's got to be repainted.
Right.
And if it's punctured the paintwork, that's an expensive job to knock that out.
One of the reasons I got this cheap car was
Yeah.
that if I did get any bumps on it, I wouldn't care. But actually, I was really annoyed.
Yeah, of course
because I
you
mean,
should
I
be.
don't want to have to pay loads of money to get it done, and I
No.
probably won't get it fixed.
No.
But I'll show it to you later on.
You should get it fixed, because if you don't, it's a hole. It'll get rusty.
Well,
So-
it's not really a
so-
hole;
so-
it's just a dent.
Yeah, well, I should get it fixed. Otherwise, you've got to remember, Mike, that you don't care too much about your image. Now, I care about my image.
I can see that, yeah. What is your image, anyway?
Well, of just being clinically efficient
Right.
in what I do in life,
see, right.
Going about my life with clinical efficiency.
Yeah.
And anybody who's driving around in a car that's got all sorts of bumps and scrapes in it is not clinically efficient.
Yeah.
And in fact is hopelessly disorganised.
Although-
So you don't exude any confidence.
Well, although there's a reason for that, because like when we lived in New York, if you had a car that was brand new, you wouldn't have had it looking brand new for very long, because people were always bumping into it when they parked and things were scraped on it and all that. That's why in London, which is where I have the car most of the time, I didn't want to have a brand new car, because a brand new car would get scraped and I'd get annoyed pretty
I
much
totally
every
agree.
single day.
I totally agree
But
with
what
you.
sort of person would do that? Because I figured it must have happened, and you know where that little private road is where I live by the river?
Yes.
And there's a square there.
Yes.
Now, I don't think there's a camera, unfortunately, so I won't be able to catch whoever did it, but I think that's where they did it, because they were obviously trying to turn around, and they scraped across the top of the car with the underside of the lorry.
Yeah,
or
I
something.
understand. Yeah, the back
And
of the lorry. Yeah.
why wouldn't
yeah.
they leave a note? I mean, that's pretty despicable, isn't it?
Well, A, they might not know they've done it if it's a lorry.
They must
right?
have known,
So
surely.
give them the benefit of the doubt. But secondly, if they did and they saw nobody around, why would they make trouble for themselves by leaving you a note?
Well,
and you've got
of
to
course
remember,
they're
by
gonna
the
leave a
way,
note.
you've got to remember that their vehicle they don't own,
Right.
so they're not in any way going to suffer from having to go to insurance companies or anything like that.
Right.
Why would they bother? If they think that nobody's seen it and they got away with it, they just drive off.
yeah, but where does
Happens
that
all the
sit
time.
on your moral compass, though? It's not very moral, is
Well,
it?
no, but not everybody's got the moral compass you and I've got. And the other thing which really gets me are what's called envy scratches, which
Oh,
are
yes.
they're a big thing in this
Yeah.
country, envy scratches. And what it is that somebody will walk around literally with a tiny screwdriver, the sort of thing that's only 2 inches long
Yeah, yeah.
or something like that, and deliberately walk past lovely cars
And scratch them.
because the idea is, I can't afford one of those.
Or do it
so
with a key or something like that.
Yeah, a key. I'm going to damage yours.
Yeah.
In fact, it happened to my niece's boyfriend quite
Did it?
recently. He had a new BMW drop top. What's
Oh,
it
yeah.
called? The 8
Oh, yeah.
or 6? Is it BMW 6? I think.
don't know what that is.
Yeah, well, it's a two-seater. It's
Okay.
a big two-seater
sports car?
Yeah, sports car.
Right.
Yeah, BMW. And they did it across his back bonnet for absolutely. His back bumper
Right.
for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Despicable, utterly
Shocking.
despicable. If you
Absolutely
find these
shocking.
people, you should do them. On
My ex-wife did that to my car once.
well, your ex-wife vandalised your car.
Yeah.
That's nice, isn't it? Yeah, but she's probably found out you.
She did worse than that, actually. She vandalised the car that I was driving.
Yeah.
But we also had another car,
Yeah.
which was basically her car.
Yeah.
And I don't know what she did to it, but she hit it with a brick, I think, like continually.
She hit her own car with a brick.
Well, because she was leaving the country, and
Oh, I
so
see, yeah.
and I was having to tell the car on,
Right.
And so that I couldn't sell it for very much money.
Yeah.
She whacked it, I think, with a brick wrapped in a cloth or something. So it wasn't. It was just dented all the way around. It looked like somebody had just dented
Oh, she
it.
continually hit it.
Yeah, dented it all the way round.
Yeah, this is the same woman that I know who you married. Now, did she go mad at the end of the marriage or something?
Well, she did a bit, yeah.
Well, she must have done, and you. But it was your fault.
I had
You-
to go
you-
and pick up the car, and it was
Yeah.
out of petrol.
Yeah, but you
in
were
the middle of a field.
Mike, you were so
and it was smashed up
infidelious
with
in
a-
that
with a- with a
relationship,
brick.
which you've already admitted.
Yeah.
You were a disgraceful husband, weren't you? I mean, you.
Well, I was a good husband for a while.
No, you weren't. No,
Have you seen the time?
no. Hang on. You said the time because
what
you
time?
don't want
Yeah,
your
we haven't got any more
disgraceful
time.
behaviour.
Yeah, we haven't got
no,
any
we
more
haven't more time.
No.
Only cheated on her
We
with
have to look
6
into the
women
light.
at the same time.
No, at the same time.
Yeah, at the
Well,
same
at least I didn't
time.
go prowling
At the
around.
same time.
I didn't go prowling around bloody supermarkets.
I don't
for
prowl
heaven's
around
sake.
supermarkets.
Well, apparently you used to.
No, I don't.
You just admitted it.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
We are the two mics. We've got Porky Vision coming next. It is, of course, that time of the week when it's time to seek the guidance of TV critic, as he was called by Sky News a little bit earlier on this week.
I was, yeah.
Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Just before we get your views on all the big shows of the week,
Yeah.
how about this from Powie, the Bristol Gooner? He says, perhaps Porky could have his own new TV programme, Supermarket Sweep. Sweep them off their feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Like that.
Maybe that'd be better than Stars in Your Eyes, perhaps.
Well, you're in demand, aren't you, when you get to that sort of level?
Now,
right, go on.
Well, it's time for your TV review.
Right, Wolf Hall I'm going to do.
Hall.
And Broadmarsh.
Yeah.
No, Broadchurch,
How about
actually.
Broadchurch?
That's right, Broadchurch.
Yeah.
And also, and I think, people will find this strange while I'm reviewing this programme, but On the Buses is worth reviewing. I've
On
seen
the
that,
Buses?
Yeah, I've seen that a couple of times
How old
this
is
week.
that?
About
Now,
40 years.
This is entirely in keeping. I actually sent a tweet out earlier on in the day to say
So
that
what?
you'll be doing your
Yeah.
TV reviews of the week,
Yeah.
and no doubt you'll be including something from about 40 years ago.
Well, why not?
How can you do On the Buses?
Well, because I like On the Buses. Oh,
What
it was
channel
great.
is that on?
Sorry?
What channel's that on?
I think it's on Gold, isn't it?
Is
Or
it?
something like that. I suppose so, yeah. But it's great because, you see, you've got to remember, Mike, we all live stressful lives.
We do.
And I like to watch television sometimes just to take the stress out of me.
Quite right.
And watch something which is just blancmange.
Yeah.
I
know what you mean.
Blancmange brain type
I'm like that.
broadcasting.
I'm like that with sort of late night films.
Yeah,
You start
exactly.
watching,
yeah.
Rambo for the 98th
But
time.
listen, Wolf Hall we've got to get to first, right? So I switch it
Go on.
on. First thing that happens is that the man who plays Thomas Cromwell, don't know what his name is, but he's a good actor, I think. But
Mark Rylance.
Mark Rylance, that's right, yeah. Now, he's, for some unknown reason, the first thing that happens is his wife dies.
Uh-huh.
She just dies. Well, I'm sorry if people haven't seen it.
Well, it was on last night, so quite a lot of people will be watching it later, I suppose.
Well, they should have seen it because
Right.
it was heralded so big, and the Times actually did a whole pull-out supplement on it. That's how big it is.
Well, this is the BBC's massive sort of New Year
of course
project,
it is,
isn't
of course it is, yeah. Anyway, so he leaves his wife's bedroom where her lady's in waiting, assuming she's dead.
Right.
And he goes to his children's bedroom, and the ladies in waiting there say, oh, they're dead as well.
Oh, good.
And apparently they've died of fever, but I mean, they don't explain that in the
Right.
programme. I only found that out through my own research.
And the whole point of Wolf Hall is that this was kind of the stately home where Cromwell lived,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So is this all happening in Wolf Hall then?
Well, it's happening in a big house. It doesn't actually have a sign saying
Right.
Wolf Hall, but I
Okay.
assume it is, yeah.
Right.
I assume it is. But then what I noticed next was that they're all wearing Peaky Blinder hats, believe it or not. I mean that might sound
I
forceful.
could see a picture
but-
in one of the
yeah,
papers.
Exactly,
I could see
yeah.
the resemblance.
Yeah, exactly. It resembles the Peaky
You
Blinder
think
hat.
they haven't got razor blades, have they?
Well, I wouldn't think so. No, didn't they have razor blades in those days, did
No.
they? But then the next thing that happens is that the guy playing Thomas Cromwell, what's his name again?
Mark Rylance.
Mark Rylance. He then has all these flashbacks, and some bloke is kicking him to death on the floor. I mean, really beating him up. Kicking him in the face, kicking him in the ribs, blood coming out of his mouth, I mean, give him a right kicking.
Quite a violent show then.
Well, it was this is all in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That was all violence. Anyway, it transpires that the bloke who's kicking him to death is, in fact, his father,
Right.
who didn't
I
like
presume
him.
he's not kicking him to death, otherwise.
Well,
he
he's obviously
wouldn't be
not.
alive.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he's given him a really good kicking, So at this point, old Cromwell arrives at some other house, and his father's actually in the courtyard putting put a shoe on a horse, right? And Cromwell is driven mad by the terrible memories of his father giving him a good kicking every day. And he picks up, a big metal implement. He's going to do his head in and do him.
My goodness me.
But then somebody else arrives and decides not to. So it's all very violent.
It does sound very violent.
And odd.
Is it anything to do with the kind of, the whole history of the Tudors and
Well,
Henry VIII and
the
all
point
that?
is Henry VIII didn't arrive until 4 minutes from the end of the show. Now, to me, it's a load of garbage because although no, he didn't.
So does he come to visit Wolf Hall then? Or does Cromwell go and visit him?
I think.
You didn't watch it all the way through, did you?
Of course I did, but I
don't think you did.
I did. I think Cromwell goes to visit him, but the problem is it's full of long pauses,
Yeah.
and it's full of surreptitious glances.
Right.
The detail is fantastic. You can see the costumes have been very well researched and all that kind of stuff.
£7 million apparently.
£7 million quid. But Anne Boleyn's around at the
Yeah.
same time as Catherine of Aragon and
Yeah.
Jane Seymour. I
Right.
can't quite make out why all the wives are around at the same time in the
yeah.
court. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Could be
Don't make a lot
confusing.
of sense.
Right.
Although Anne Boleyn's sister's around, she was a bit of a girl as well, apparently.
And is
according
this
to the story.
going to be on every Wednesday, presumably?
Yeah, it's a 6-part series. But all I would say is...
See, that's quite short as well, isn't it? 6 parts.
all I would say is that you've got to really do a lot of thinking. And I don't like thinking television. I like television to smack me in the face.
Right.
So it's obvious what's going on.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So are you going to give it another go next week?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I will.
Because it might be one of those things that's a bit of a slow burner.
It might be, but I'm not sure what the purpose of it all is. I know it's all about Henry VIII marrying 6 wives and all that kind of stuff, and somebody had to go and tell the Pope that if you don't let him do it, we're going to, separate from the Church of Rome and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I realise all that.
Did you like the Tudors when that was on? Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, well, again, I try to watch it.
Because that seemed to go on forever.
Yeah,
that.
and it needs a lot of deep thinking and interpretation. The thing is, a lot of this, by the way, I should just tell you, is spoken in Shakespearean language.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you can't understand a lot of what they're saying, or at least I can't. Anyway, I don't speak Shakespearean or that fluently, no.
Well, it's not really a language, is it?
Well, it is. You've got to understand. So I'm not sure, really, but... You know, just looking at tomorrow morning's papers...
Well, they all love it, don't they?
I've just said to you, the Daily Mail's given it 5 stars. The Guardian, their reviewer, says, you know, it's the best things ever happened on television and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's a bit of lovey-dum going on here, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's because it's BBC Two.
Yeah.
And I think because, you know... It's
going to become one of those shows that everybody's going to be talking about, and everyone will be saying, did you like it, did you not like it?
Yeah.
I'm worried you might be setting yourself up for saying you don't like it just because it's too hard to understand.
Well, maybe I don't like it for that reason, but I like my television to be simple. That's why I'm talking about on the buses.
Right.
You know, I'll be telling you about that in a minute.
All right.
But here, what the Guardian say. Mark Rylance as Thomas Cromwell with Anne Boleyn, played by Claire Foy, in Wolf Hall's freshly painted portrait of a sentient fall from power. This is part of the review from Sam Wollaston in The Guardian.
Well, I don't want to hear what he says. I want to hear what you say.
Who thinks it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I think it's, you know...
Rubbish.
Well, I can't say it's rubbish, can you? Because it's a dramatic production, and therefore it must have its merits. What I'm saying is, it ain't for me.
Right.
Okay?
Thumbs down from
and
Corky.
I'm a man of the people. I'm
right.
the man of the people, and when I say it ain't for me, then it probably ain't for anybody.
Okay.
Now, let's get back onto Broadchurch.
Yeah, let's get back on to Broadchurch.
Now, Broadchurch is brilliant, right?
No.
So it's been 3 episodes so far, OK? Now then, in one Sunday newspaper, scurrilously on Sunday, pointed out 10 errors in Broadchurch. Things like, for instance, all the legal procedures in the court were wrong. The judge was wearing the wrong sort of wig.
Really?
Yeah. The idea that you can go around digging up bodies for, new post-mortem examinations is ludicrous without the consent of the family. Suddenly, new villains suddenly appear in the show, which weren't in the first series, who might have murdered people but might not have murdered people, running around. How did the man who confessed suddenly plead not guilty? Procedures are all wrong. I tell you, I think it's a very shady character in Broadchurch, the vicar.
The vicar, yeah.
The vicar.
I did wonder about him at the beginning of the first series, but I haven't seen the third episode yet. So, but I mean, surely people should be a bit more broad-minded, if you'll pardon the pun, because in the end, it's a fictional show. And, you know, why are they going to try and make it as if it's a real show, and therefore this could never have happened?
Well, some of it is a bit daft, I have to say. To see witnesses sitting in a courtroom where the judge and the barristers are discussing the inadmissibility of evidence is clearly ludicrous, isn't it? You know,
but it doesn't ruin it for you. I mean, not everybody knows the ins and outs of legality.
I agree. But... you know, having seen the third one now, I realise it's got so many twists and turns. Almost anything could happen. You see what I mean? Literally.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
But do you know what also I think? Mike? I think the writers were making things up as they were going along. Really, because there's such U-turn twist in the plot where, hang on, why has that happened?
Yeah.
You know, for instance...
Well, it probably was written as a one-off series, right?
Well...
And I didn't realise they were going to do another one.
Believe me, suddenly something happens and you literally say, no, that can't be, or hang on, how could that have happened, and all that. And the actors themselves look terribly shocked that they're suddenly acting out. I mean, for instance, the woman who is a police sergeant... who is married to the man who's on trial for the murder of Danny, right?
She hasn't divorced him yet, has she?
She hasn't divorced him yet. She hasn't had time. But she's suddenly accused in the dock of having an affair with her boss, who is, the former Doctor Who fellow. What's his name?
Oh, Tennant.
Tennant, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
She didn't know, did she?
Sorry?
She didn't know, did she?
Well, what I'm saying is...
tell me.
No, she didn't. And that was such a shock to her.
Right.
She said, what? And she looked like, in real life... they'd just thrown this at her, do you see what I mean? Without telling her it was actually in the script.
Well, she's probably a very good actress.
Yeah, well, she probably is, but that everybody thought, how can that be true? You know, we know that's not true. Why has this been put in? All that kind of stuff. And then the prosecution barrister, who's a brilliant actress called Marianne somebody, she's French, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
She suddenly shoots off in the middle of the night and turns up at a young offenders institute where her son is serving 6 years.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's way too complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But
but you're going to stick with Broadchurch, aren't you?
I'm sticking with Broadchurch. I think it's brilliant because they've made it now so many twists and turns, you haven't got a clue how it's all going to end up. So it's fascinating to get to the end. The thing with Wolf Hall is we all know how it ends.
Right.
Henry gets rid of 5 of his wives.
So you don't like Wolf Hall because it's too complicated?
Yeah.
And you like Broadchurch because it's too complicated.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Right, okay.
But at least in Broadchurch, I've no idea how it's going to work out. That's
Right.
the fascination. You
Right.
don't know how it's going to work out at the
It's
end.
not historical, I suppose, is
No,
it?
well, it's not historical, is it? Whereas the problem with all these historical things, like, for instance, Tom Hanks, not Tom Hanks, the other guy, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Made that film called Valkyrie.
Top Gun was on at the weekend, by
I
the
know
way.
it was. I saw it.
Did you watch it?
Saw the opener. Saw the opening 25 minutes.
Okay.
Brilliant. Love it. Absolutely
it. I thought it was
fantastic.
awful.
No, I think it's fantastic.
I switched it off.
He made a film called Valkyrie, right?
Yeah.
And that was about trying to blow up Hitler. And I read one review of that which said the problem with this film is we know from the start that it doesn't succeed. But isn't that true of every historical film?
Well, I
we know the
suppose so.
outcome. Of course it is.
Yeah.
We know, for instance, that if you made a film about Agincourt, we know who won.
Yeah.
If you made a film about the Second World War, we know who won.
Well, it doesn't stop you
know?
watching it.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. So we have to accept that the outcome of historical films, and series. The fascination is the interpretation of how it all comes about.
Yes.
And I'm afraid in Wolf Hall, for me, that's all a bit too cerebral, a bit too detailed, a bit too academic, and a bit too clever.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr.
I thought we were going to talk about on the buses.
Well, we haven't got time now.
Well, I want to talk about on the buses.
Well, we'll have to wait till we have to have an extended bit coming up then, because look into the light for a moment, and we'll have to Porky Vision will have to go on. I don't know what you're going to say about on the buses. I don't know how that
That's
ends.
brilliant.
This is Talk Sport. Well, isn't it funny? I'd almost forgotten that was the On the Buses theme.
Yeah,
because
so had
it's
I.
so now kind of associated
Yeah.
with Clips of the Week.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah.
And of course, you're on
absolutely,
it. You're on it again twice this week, I have to say.
Well, that's great, that, because it's an honour to be on that particular
certainly is.
part of Andy and Paul's show. Brilliant
Yeah.
show. We love it. No, what I was going to say is, look, there's two things about it. I mean, we all like nostalgia.
Yeah.
That's why people like reading about, footballers from 1974, 75 and all that kind of stuff. We grew up with it. Now, when I grew up, if I wasn't going on my bike to school, which I did sometimes, at some ages,
Yeah.
I'd get
And
the
in
bus
some
to school.
weather as well,
In some
presumably.
weather, yeah. I'd get the bus to school.
Yeah.
And I'd have to get two buses. Get a bus from my house into town,
Yeah.
and then a bus from...
Into Chester.
Into Chester.
Just to
that's
go
right.
to the King's School, Chester.
Yeah, which was down the Wrexham Road on the way to Wrexham.
Okay.
And then you get a bus in the centre of Chester out to, towards Wrexham, down to the Wrexham Road.
They didn't have school sort of buses in those days, did they?
They did, yeah.
Did they?
Well, they had special buses to take us to the King's School, yes,
Right.
definitely.
So you'd get that from the centre of town.
That's right, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
See, I went to school on tube. And
Yeah, I know.
used
Well,
the
that's,
London
yeah,
buses
I
and all
know.
that.
That's quite unusual, isn't it? Quite unusual. But anyway, the point of my story is, when I see that on the buses, and
Yeah.
I hear the engine start up,
Yeah.
and I see the driver sitting there in that cab at the front, and the cowl of his engine is shaking, it reminds me of everything I remember about buses as a kid.
The Route Master buses.
Yeah, and people used to smoke upstairs.
Yeah.
So upstairs there were cigarette butts all over the place. It smelt of tobacco because the tobacco was ingrained in the roof and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. The stairs were made of cast iron and built just after the war and all
And
that.
you could jump on and off them as well.
You can jump up and
without paying.
on off and out. Yeah, of course you could, yeah. And all that kind of stuff. And so there's A, nostalgia, but B, I thought Reg Varney was just a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
A brilliant actor. He did the advert for the first ever withdrawal of money from a cash machine in this country.
Did he? I didn't remember that.
Yeah, the first ever cash machine in this country was set up, and Reg Varney was hired to put the card in, tap in a number, and take £20
But
out.
what do you think people would make of this show, right? If they had
Yeah.
never seen it before
Yeah.
and say they were, 25 years old and they
Yeah.
suddenly put on Gold and watched on the buses, what do you think they'd make of it?
Well, they'd probably think it was all made up.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, the great thing, I mean, I love Blakey, the Inspector Battler. I hate you, Battler. And those characters are great. And the other thing was, mate, it would never be allowed today because part of the whole plot is that Reg Varney and his bus conductor, I can't remember his name now, but he was the co-writer of the series, right? He was co-writer of the series. Part of their raison d'etre in life was to chase the Clippies all the time.
right.
That was their job. Sorry, not their job. That was their mission in life,
Yeah.
to pick up the female...
Was it not
bus-
Stan or somebody? Was it Stan?
Stan. Was it Stan? It might have been Stan.
Stan?
Yeah, it could have been Stan. Yeah. No, Stan
The
was Reg
goofy guy
Varney.
with the blonde hair.
Yeah, Stan was Reg Varney.
Was he? Well, I don't know. You've been watching
Yeah,
it.
I think Reg
haven't
Varney
seen
was
it for
Stan.
years.
Reg Varney was Stan, I'm sure he was.
Was he?
The other guy was Bill or Bert or somebody.
Okay.
Or something like that. But anyway. But and so you couldn't do that these days. The whole process of being at work was to wink at the Clippies and all. They always walked around in short skirts and
Yeah.
all that kind of. I mean,
Well, it's a bit like Carry On film, wasn't it?
it was like a carry-on film.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. But the other thing is, when he got home, right, he lived in this house, which is very similar to the house I was brought up in, except that he lived there with his mother, his sister, his brother-in-law,
Yeah.
and that's what used to happen in the 50s
Yeah.
and the early 60s.
It's not that old, though, is it, that show?
It
I
is.
thought it was from the 70s.
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
I don't know, really. I don't know. I thought it was from the sort of the 60s or whatever. But, I mean, that's the way people used to live. And
69 to 73, I've just been
69, 73, thank you. And so, whilst I'm saying it was no great dramatic production,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is...
But you didn't know how it was going to end either, did you?
What?
The show. You said the thing you don't like about
Yeah.
historical dramas
Yeah.
is you know how
Oh,
they're
you
going to
generally
end.
speaking know how it always ends in disaster for Stan,
Yeah.
who is Reg Varney, by the way. I've just
Right.
remembered, yeah.
Okay.
And it ends in disaster for Blakey as well. You know, I hate you, Butler. You know.
So
And,
for anyone who hasn't yet watched it,
yeah.
you know, don't give it away.
No, it always does.
Can we stop with the Porky Vision now? Or is it
Well-
you want to say more about on the buses?
No,
'Cause
no,
Porky
no.
Vision's only meant to be like a little slot for 10 minutes.
Okay, well that's it then.
But
That's
you've
it.
already,
That's it.
You've already gone over
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's no
You've already
problem.
gone over it, right.
No problem.
Here's a piece of advice from someone who doesn't give a name.
Okay.
Wolf Hall is about the rise and fall of Thomas Cromwell. Henry and the wives are side issues. This guy says, read the book. But you don't want to read the book.
No,
do
you don't read the book. You want to. I mean, have you read the book of all the films that you've seen?
No.
I mean, have you read the book of, for instance, The Godfather?
I have,
Have you?
actually, yeah.
And Godfather 2?
Well, Godfather 2 wasn't really from the book.
No, it wasn't. No,
I mean,
no.
Mario Puzo wrote the book.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
they made the film, sort of from it, basically.
That's right. And then developed 2 and 3 after
And the
that,
reason I
yeah.
bought the book when I was was in my teens was when The Godfather
Yeah.
came out. I was
Yeah.
too young to go and see it.
Right.
So I bought the book because I thought this would be really cool because I'll read it.
You read it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance...
But a lot of films, obviously, I mean, you may have read the book before they make the film from it. A
Yeah.
lot of films, they don't make it from a book anyway.
Have you read the book The Carpetbaggers? Harold Robbins?
I haven't, no. I never
did.
read any Harold Robbins.
I did, and then they made a film of it, and they called it Nevada Smith. Because Nevada Smith was the main character.
Oh, really?
Which I thought was a bit disappointing,
Yeah, well,
really.
I was never a Harold Robbins fan.
Oh, I
to be
was.
honest.
I
A bit
loved
like
Harold
Jackie
Robbins.
Collins.
Yeah, I loved Harold Robbins.
That's what I would call an airport paperback.
No, Harold Robbins' books for me are about people in America who are very successful. And I'd never been to America in those
Fictional
days.
characters.
Yeah, fictional characters,
Yeah.
but very, very successful people, you know. And I'd never been to America in those days, so I didn't know what it was all about.
Now, I've got an idea for you here.
Right, go on.
Because I know you're sometimes struggling to know what to buy for people as a gift.
Yeah, we could do with ideas from you, Mike. Yeah, go on.
Now, here's
Yeah.
one for the bottom
Yeah.
of the Daily Telegraph, right? It says, a gift they're sure to treasure, gold bars from the Royal Mint. You can now go to the Royal Mint and actually buy gold bars.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind
I
that.
thought it would appeal to you.
When-
And apparently they're selling for as little as £50 each.
When I was about 17,
Yeah.
and I had part-time jobs at weekends and all that, as well as going to school, I started buying Krugerrands.
Krugerrands.
Yeah.
How much were they?
They were about, I think they were about 60 quid each.
Really?
Something like that,
How did
yeah.
you have that kind of money then?
Well, I just accumulated it because I used to work Saturdays and Sundays in a petrol station. I used to, I worked some evenings in a chip shop and all
Right.
that kind of stuff, you know what
Well,
I mean?
yeah, but 60 quid
Yeah.
a lot of money in those days.
I think
for one coin.
I think it was 60 quid. I can't.
Was it like an ounce of gold or something? Was it an ounce of gold?
It was a Krugerrand in a box.
Yeah, but
It-
isn't a Krugerrand technically an ounce of gold or something like that?
Well, I don't know technically what it was, but it was a gold coin,
Yeah.
that's for sure. And in those days, South Africa had a very strong economy.
Uh-huh.
Sadly, it
They
was
also had
based on...
apartheid.
I was about
didn't
to
bother
say,
you, though?
No, it did. I said, sadly, it was based on apartheid, but I mean...
no, but
nobody-
it didn't stop you buying the Krugerrands, though.
Well, I mean, that wasn't an issue. It wasn't a moral decision.
No.
It was a decision based on the fact that I used to read the papers avidly as I did now. When you got the financial pages,
Yeah.
it said, here's an offer, buy a Krugerrand, 62 quid
Yeah,
or
but
something
didn't
like
you
that.
think that, shouldn't be buying them from South Africa?
Well, I don't know much about the political system in South Africa, to be honest. I knew that they played rugby and
Yeah.
and cricket and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, you know.
Right.
And you've got to remember, Mike, because I was politically aware, we were more worried about the situation in Rhodesia, as it was in those
Were
days,
you?
which now, of course, is
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Right. Well, a
That's
Krugerrand
right.
is apparently actually an ounce of gold. So have
Is
you
it?
still got a load of them then?
No. Oh, no.
What happened to them?
Well, I flogged them later when they accumulated, appreciated, and bought a car with.
Really?
Yeah.
So you've always been a bit like this, haven't you? You've always
What do
been
you
kind
mean?
of business-minded.
Well, not really.
I mean, when I had my first job as a teenager, basically, I would get
In the
not that
bakery,
much-
was this?
In the bakery, yeah.
Right,
and I
yeah.
would make maybe 25 quid a week or something.
That's
like
not
that. Which was all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I usually spent it on either taking people out or
Yeah.
or on clothes or something
Yeah,
like
drink.
that. A bit of drink, yeah.
Not really a bit of drink, loads of drink.
Well, not loads, no. But
you were
I
a
would
big
take-
drinker when you were 14.
But it would never have occurred to me at the age of, say, 16 or
Yeah.
17 to
Yeah.
buy Krugerrands.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
did,
quite
yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah.
And then accumulate wealth.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
well,
buy a car with it.
Yeah, well, I did. I mean, in the intervening years, I've made some absolutely disastrous business decisions. So I lost a lot more than 62 quid, believe me, over the
I'm
years.
sure.
Yeah.
How many did you actually collect in the end before you sold them?
In the end, I had about 4, I think.
Really?
Yeah, which I'd bought, and they did accumulate. I mean, they went up. I think I sold them for like £100 each or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. So do you think you'll get some of these gold bars then?
Well, I do. I mean, the
You
thing...
can buy me one for Christmas if you want.
The thing is about anything gold and all that. It's so solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's what's it called? Something that's solid and real.
Solid gold?
Yeah. No, hang on. I'm trying to think of the word. You know, it's
Tangible?
No, not tangible. It's an inanimate object.
Yeah.
Inanimate. That's the word I'm looking for.
Inanimate.
Okay? It's an inanimate object, and inanimation is a great feeling in my view.
Inanimation?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what that means.
It means something solid.
Really?
As opposed to something that's viable, flexible, or living.
Well, I mean,
or,
lots of things are solid.
Or grass.
I mean, the phone's solid,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Is that the same feeling then?
Well, no, that's not inanimate.
Uh-huh.
That's not inanimate because that has like buttons and things on it that you press and then things happen.
But it doesn't mean it's alive, though, does it?
No, but inanimate means it does
Inanimate just
nothing.
means
It's
it's
just
not living.
solid. Inanimate, like a rock is inanimate.
I think you got the wrong word.
No, rock is inanimate because it doesn't do anything except be a rock, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And gold, a gold ingot, a gold bar is inanimate because it's just a gold bar. But a telephone's not inanimate because it has activities
Really?
within it. Yeah,
I think you got this completely wrong.
No, I haven't got it wrong. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm a student of the English language, I keep telling you.
Someone's actually said that you've done a brilliant impression of old Blakey,
Oh, really?
which is incredible.
Excellent, yeah, it was. Oh, I thought it was rather good.
David
yeah.
said, I've just listened for a couple of hours and my
Yeah.
head is now hurting.
Yeah, really? Why? Too much information,
Too much
good information.
Too much
yeah.
information to bring in. And John says,
Yeah.
I would never have thought that Porky had flattened that much grass in his time. And I think he's referring to your
What?
Casanova type scenarios.
What?
I think it's a euphemism, you know.
Well, that's rather a crude one, isn't it?
Well, it's not that
Eh?
crude compared to some of the other ones.
Flattening grass,
Yeah.
for goodness sake. Mind you, where I was brought up in Chester, there was a lot of summer romance going on in the fields around
Was there?
Chester. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, you may have to explore that a little
I
bit.
had a girlfriend who lived up the Wirral, actually near where Beaky lives now, and that was very rural indeed. And you could go for long summer evening walks from one pub to another, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, it was.
I don't
It was
disagree.
great. Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I agree.
Well, when I was younger, I had to
Yeah.
find. I mean, there were only certain pubs you could go to because certain pubs I knew where the people who owned it were.
Yeah.
Basically, they would let me in.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I look
right.
very young, as you can see now. I still look quite young for my
Yes,
age.
yes.
And I always looked like I was about 12. When
I mean,
was
fat
18.
but young.
No,
yeah,
young.
Yeah.
Absolutely, very
Yeah.
young. Now, coming up tomorrow, it's Porky Quiz time.
It is, yeah.
Obviously, since things have been slightly changed around, there will be a podcast coming out in a few hours' time. That'll be the third podcast of the week,
Yeah.
which is going very well.
Yeah.
And the fourth podcast of the week will be out on Friday.
Yeah.
So tomorrow night we'll be doing the quiz, and we'll be doing the quiz on Cliff. So I want you to give you a chance to
Yeah.
do a little bit of research,
Yeah.
do a little bit
Yeah.
of, kind of homework.
And there will be so many interpretations of the word cliff, right?
Well, I don't know.
It will be impossible for me to research it all, okay?
Well, not necessarily.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sure you
yeah,
can-
I know your brain works. Don't worry about that, pal.
It's
I know
nothing to do
about
with
that.
me. I don't actually compile the quiz, as you well know.
Oh, no, of course
No.
you don't. You have no control over it whatsoever.
I have no control over
All
it. no.
you do is change the answers when I get it right.
Not
The
at all.
gerrymandering process is about to be put into operation.
Not at all.
I'm very aware of it.
And also, what we might talk about as well a little bit tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of The Sound of Music.
Yeah, we must do. That's fantastic.
Is it one of your favourites?
No, not really. It was brilliant when I first saw it, because I
Yeah.
saw it with my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And what year did it come out?
I don't know, sometime in the 60s, I think.
Well, hang on, if it's 50 years now, it must have been 65.
Yeah.
So I was about 7, right?
Yeah.
6, 7. And it was spectacular because Julie Andrews was so beautiful, her voice was so spectacular, the scenery was breathtaking. And the plot was pretty good about the Nazis and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Very memorable. But you remember, Mike, within a couple of years of it coming out, there were some old women in Liverpool who had seen it 200 times.
I know.
I mean, it became obsessive for
Staggering.
a lot of people.
And
yeah.
it still is. It became number one in the charts as well. Do you remember we talked about
Yeah,
that?
that's right.
Sound of Music soundtrack.
Yeah.
But,
I
loads
rang
more,
Julie Andrews up in hospital once at the Cedar Sinai.
Oh, did you? We'll have to tell us that story.
Yeah, definitely. Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne, podcast from the two mics. Butler. I hate you, Butler.